Hello guys and welcome back once again. We are here now on Saturday, and that's generally when I don't do any drawings, but we are into day 5 on Inktober, and I did say I'd go up with the challenge, and I am keeping up with it. We are coming into the last of the first week of Inktober, and hopefully you have been following along. We on day 1 was the ring. If you guys do you remember the prompts, or if you haven't, you can go and check them out over on my Instagram. But day 1 was ring, and then the day 2 was mindless. Give more details on each of these these pictures in the videos, so don't forget to go and check those out as well. But day 3 is bait. If you didn't, guys, go and check that one out as well. And again, we had yesterday's, which was freeze. And do you recognize the reference that I used for the word freeze? Otherwise, check out what we're going to be doing today, because the word is build. And I thought to myself, well, what other thing can I be doing for the word build when I have been doing this epic challenge? Or say challenge, something I want to build because I want to build my world, because of, picking up the controller and actually building one of my very own worlds instead of playing with my son when we play Minecraft. I thought we'd draw perspective and things like that, and get some drawings done of the Tower of Flight. If you don't know what that is, definitely go and click out on any of the Minecraft that I've been uploading very, very recently, as well as the other stories. I'm going to stop smacking them in lips and have a drink of coffee. It's Saturday, so I kind of had a little bit of adult time last night, so this is why it's a little bit late. And well, let's get on. And if you don't know what the difference is, I'm going to try and pull it up on my phone. I did take a picture of the tower. It's still not completed. Going to be doing it every Monday and Tuesday over there on Mixer. You know how to unlock my phone. Oh no, well, change that. But there we go. That's the Tower of Flight and the thing that I've been building. I'll just give you a quick zoom in the background there. Oh, a bit too light there, but you can see what I'm going with. The sunlight does. Oh, there we go. The sunlight does come down. There is more details on Instagram, guys. Definitely giving more pictures to what it looks like. There we go. That's a bit better. But yeah, it's going all the way to build height, and we're doing it with a water elevator. I thought it was an awesome idea, because once it's built, we're going to then fly off as far as we can with that the ability with the Allegra. As you see, I've already got them, and we're going to be today drawing the whole thing as this sort of image. Guys, I always need a reference, and I thought to myself, there's only word. The word is build. I have to be drawing my what is it called? My Minecraft build. But yeah, we're going to be listening to another audiobook, but this one is done by a fan who asked me to play one of his audiobooks, because he knows I like to listen to audiobooks, and he knows I like to listen to them in the background for you guys. So if you do, guys, like the one, there will be a link down below after the stream has gone live, and also hopefully I will be able to link him on the end of this video, as I've been doing in previous videos. Otherwise, I'll put it in the chat, and you guys can search it for yourself. But yeah, let's get going while I get myself a little bit warmed up to start drawing, because this is going to be taking me probably more than an hour, because I'm going to be trying to put in as much detail as possible. Instead of doing a little sketchy diddly doodle drawing, I'm going to be actually trying to get it looking as much as close and as good as possible, because it's Saturday. I haven't got my son, and I've got loads of time.
You've been in this world for a while, or just discovered the island. Or maybe, like it was for me, the island is your introduction to this world. If you're alone, confused, and scared out of your mind, then you're exactly where I was on my first day. This world can seem like a maze and sometimes like a bully, but the truth is that it's a teacher, and its trials are lessons in disguise. That's why I left this book behind.
So this is the story of Minecraft, the island. In audiobook.
Never give up. Drowning.
And I'm Bleeped084. If you don't know where you are, check out other videos, and there should be some cards popping up, because I think YouTube
Near to
studio.
the
It's
surface.
pretty awesome.
I kicked in all directions, trying to find my way up. I twisted and turned, and then I saw it.
We're using my new Uniballs.
Dim,
These are the ones that I'll be
pale,
using, guys.
and far away.
If you haven't, you already know which ones I use because I've seen in previous videos. So if this is the first one you've ever seen, this is how I
The sun.
first outline everything. But normally I'd sketch things, which as ink temper you know, you can only use ink. You can use any ink, and I found out you can color as much as you like.
How much air do I have left? Just get to it. Swim. My lungs ballooned, little bubbles escaping from my lips, racing me for the distant light.
So we'll be using icopic markers this afternoon as well.
Now I can
Not
see
too many, but I still want to keep it in the style that I've been drawing it all in ink, sort of dark style with a little hint of colour on the edges and sort of showing a light source or maybe something like that. We're using these ones again. I'm hopefully next week be getting some more actual Copic marker actual pens and going to be testing out what the difference are on the next few weeks as well. And yeah, keep tuned for all that sort of stuff. But ooh,
clean air.
let's get going.
I choked, I wheezed, I laughed, breathing. For a moment,
Let me know if you can hear this in the background, 'cause I know it's quite quiet.
Closed my eyes and letting the sun warm my face.
Trying to get it so, yeah, so it's not so crackly for you guys.
The sun was square. I blinked hard. The clouds too. Instead of round and puffy cotton balls, these thin rectangular objects floated lazily above me. You're still seeing things, I thought. You hit your head when you fell off the boat, and now you're a little dazed. But did I fall off the boat? I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember anything. In fact, how I got here, or even where here was. Help me! I shouted.
Oh, there we go. He saw his audio.
Scanning the horizon for a ship or plane.
Here's that moment. If you've used open source OBS, and then you'll know what I mean. You get your audio, and then all of a sudden your audio's shit, and you'll go, oh wait, no. If I do it this, turn this down. This is what this dude's done.
A flash of tentacles and a thick black and grayish head. I yelped, kicking backwards.
I'm trying to think here.
It looked like a squid.
Because I'm trying to draw this here first. And see what I want to kind of keep and what I can lose and what I can keep in this picture. Because we are trying to adjust to this here. And then we're going to be drawing this here first as the prominent first thing you see. And then we'll be drawing in the background. So like perspective, foreground, midground, background.
I floated there, frozen, treading water for a few seconds until the animal disappeared deeply deep. That's when I let out a long, throaty, tension-draining ugh. I took another deep breath.
Thank you very much for that like.
Then a whole lot more. Finally, my heart settled down.
Leave a chat. What do you think? What do you want to say?
And for the first time
We'll just,
my brain switched on.
if you've got something else to listen to, if this finishes before I finish, then or for next prompt, let me know.
And you can't tread water forever. I did a slow 360-degree turn, hoping to see some thread of coastline I missed before. Nothing. In desperation, I tried one last scan of the sky. No planes, not even a thin white trail. What sky doesn't have those trails? One with the square sun and rectangular clouds. The clouds. I noticed they were all moving steadily in one direction, away from the rising sun, due west. As good as anywhere, I said, giving another deep sigh, and started swimming slowly west. It wasn't much to go on, but I figured the wind might help me along a little bit, or at least wouldn't slow me down. And if I went north or south, the breeze might slowly blow me in an arc, so I'd end up swimming in circles. I didn't know if that was really true. I still don't. I mean, come on, I'd just woken up, probably with some kind of massive head injury, at the bottom of an ocean, and was trying really, really hard not to end up back up there. Just keep going, I told myself, focusing what's ahead. I began to notice how weird my swimming was. Not just a pause and stroke motion, but the sense of gliding along the water with my limbs along for the ride. Head injury, I thought, trying not to imagine how serious that injury might be. One good thing I noticed was that I didn't seem to be getting tired. Isn't swimming supposed to be exhausting? Don't your muscles burn and quit after a while? Adrenaline, I thought, and tried not to imagine that emergency gas tank running out. But it would. Sooner or later I'd lose steam, cramp up, go from swimming to treading water, then from treading water to floating. Of course I'd try to rest, bobbing up and down to conserve energy, But how long could I keep that up? How long before the cold of the water finally got to me? How long before, teeth clattering, body shivering, I finally sank back down into the darkness? Not yet, I blurted out. I'm not giving up yet. Shouting out loud was enough to perk me up. Keep focused, keep going. And I did. I kept swimming with all my might. I also tried to be uber aware of my surroundings. Hopefully I would spot the mast of a ship, or the shadow of a helicopter. But at the very least, it would take my mind off my current predicament. I noticed that the water was calm, and this gave me something to feel good about. No waves meant no resistance, right? Which meant I could swim farther. I also noticed that the water was fresh, not salty, which meant that I had to be in a lake instead of an ocean, and lakes are smaller than oceans. Okay, a big lake is just as dangerous as an ocean, but come on, you got a problem with me trying to look on the bright side? I also noticed that I could see the bottom. It was deep, don't get me wrong, you could sink a pretty decent office building and never see the top. But it wasn't bottomless like the ocean is supposed to be. I could also see it wasn't level. There were tons of little valleys and hills. That was when, off to my right, I noticed that one of the hills had grown so tall that its top disappeared above beyond the horizon. Did it break the surface? I turned northwest, I guess, and swam in a straight line for the hill. And before I knew it, the hill grew into an underwater mountain. And a few seconds later, I actually thought I saw its top sprout above the water. That's gotta be land, I thought, trying to get my hopes up. It could be a mirage, though, a trick of the light, or some mist, or... That's when I saw the tree. I thought it was a tree, because from that distance, all I could make out was a dark green angular mass perched atop a dark brown line. Excitement propelled me like a torpedo. Eyes locked forward, I soon saw other trees dotting a tan beach, and then suddenly the green-brown slope of a hill. Land! I shouted. Land! I'd made it. Warm, firm, solid ground. A few strokes and I'd be there. A wave of total relief washed over me, and just like a real wave, it washed right back out. I barely had a second to celebrate before the island came into full view. By the time I reached the shore, I was just as confused as the moment I had woken up. The island was square, or rather, it was made of squares. Everything, sand, dirt, rocks, even those things I thought were trees. Everything was a combination of cubes. Okay, I said, refusing to believe what I was seeing. Just need a minute is all. A minute. Standing in waist-high water, breathing, blinking, and waiting for my eyes to clear, I was sure that any minute all those harsh right angles would return to soft, curvy normalness. They didn't. Gotta be that head wound, I said, waving ashore. No problem. Just make sure that you're not bleeding too bad, and instinctively, my head went up to find the supposed injury, and as it came up in front of my face, I gasped. What? There was a fleshy cube at the end of my rectangular arm, a cube that wouldn't open no matter how hard I tried. There's my hand, I shouted, my voice rising in panic. Head swimming, throat closing, I looked nervously down at the rest of me. Brick-shaped feet, rectangular legs, a shoebox-shaped torso, all covered in painted-on clothes. What's wrong with me? I hollered to the empty beach. This isn't real, I screamed, running back and forth, trying to tear the painted clothes off my body. Hyperventilating, I rushed back to the water, desperate for the calming reflection of my face. Nothing greeted me. Where am I? I shouted to the shimmering sea. What is this place? This is a dream, I said, relief breaking into my panicked voice, reaching for the only thing I could think of. Of course! And for a second I almost pulled myself together. Just a crazy dream, and soon you'll wake up, and what? I tried to imagine waking up in my home, in my life, and it was all gone. I could remember the world, the real world, of soft round shapes, of people and houses and cars and lives. I just couldn't remember me doing it. My vision narrowed as an invisible fist closed around my lungs. Who am I? Tension pushed up through the veins in my neck. I could feel
I'm
the
an
skin
idiot.
on my face, the roots of my teeth. Dizzy, nauseous. I staggered back against the base of the hill. What was my name? What did I look like? Was I old? Was I young? Looking down at my boxy body, I couldn't determine anything. Was I a man or a woman? Was I even human? What am I? The thread snapped. My mind collapsed. Where? Who? What? And now the final question. Why? I screeched at the bright, square sun. Why can't I remember? Why am I different? Why am I here? Why is all this happening to me? Why? All I got back was silence. No birds, no waves, not even the rustle of wind through those angular excuses for trees. Nothing but pure, punishing silence. And then, gurp. The sound was so small I wasn't sure I heard it. Gurp. I definitely heard it that time, and felt it too. It was coming from inside me. My tummy was rumbling. I'm hungry. That was all I needed to break my downward spiral. Something to do, something simple and clear to focus on. And next to breathing, there's nothing clearer or simpler than eating. Grrr, growled my stomach, as if to say, I'm waiting. I shook my head violently, trying to get the blood back to my cheeks, and looked down at my body to see if I had anything to eat. I'd been so shocked the first time I'd seen myself that I might have missed something earlier. Maybe I had a waterproof phone in my pocket, or even a wallet with my ID. I didn't have either, or even pockets. But what I did find was a thin belt, painted the same color as my pants, another reason I missed it the first time, with 4 flat pouches on either side. Each pouch was empty, but while going through them, I suddenly realized I could feel a slight pressure of something resting gently on my back. I'd call it a backpack, but it didn't have any straps or hooks, or anything that should have held it in place. It was just stuck there, and like the belt I might have painted on clothes, I couldn't take it off. All I could do was reach back and swing it to the front. Crazy dream, I said, coming back to the only mental crutch I had. The pack inside was lined with 27 small pouches, just like those on the belt, and also totally empty. So much for taking inventory, I thought, as the feeling of hunger grew constant. That meant foraging for food. I looked around for something, anything, that looked remotely edible. At first, the only thing I could find appeared to be 1-block-high blades of rectangular grass. They grew in ones and twos on the green-covered dirt behind the beach. I reached down to one, sprouting right at my feet, but somehow I couldn't pick it up. Instead, I just swiped clumsily in a rapid punching motion. Anxiety welled up in me again. It was one thing to have a strange-looking body, but a whole new crisis to discover that that body wouldn't obey. I tried again, missing the grass, and again, and when I finally connected, my fist smashed my target into oblivion. And I do mean oblivion. The tall green stalks didn't just fall over or break. They disappeared. One quick crunching noise, poof, gone. "Aw, come on," I pouted, looking at this angular appendage. "Just work, will ya?" For some reason, pleading with my hand wasn't the answer. Neither was trying to repeat the same fruitless motion on another identical clump of grass. I've heard, although I can't remember where, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. I don't know if that's true for some people, but for me, it was pretty close. "Just work," I grunted angrily, punching the grass like it had swung first. "Work, work, work." It was starting again, a mental slide. My mind was balancing on a thin tightrope at that moment, and I really needed some kind of win. I didn't get one exactly, but I did break the cycle by accidentally, literally breaking the ground. On the 4th try, I hit so hard and for so long that I didn't only destroy the little green blades, but also knocked away a whole block of dirt beneath them. Whoa, at first I didn't see the block, just the block-sized hole it disappeared into. I peered into the divot and saw a cube floating at the bottom, actually hovering off the ground, and much smaller than it had been. I reached up in to pick it up, and didn't get halfway there before it flew up at me. I stumbled back with a surprised whoa, and looked down at the cube in my hand. It felt like dirt, coarse and dry with a few little pebbles in it. I tried squeezing my hand and felt it give crumbling. I brought it up to my face and sniffed. It smelled just like dirt. I sniffed again and suddenly felt comforted. Everything was alien up to this point. Everything around me, including me. This wasn't. This one sensation was familiar. I could feel my neck muscles relaxing, my jaw unclenching. Hey, I'm not embarrassed to say that I took another 4 or 5 good, long, tranquilizing whiffs of that dirt block, and I'm also not embarrassed to say that in between each inhale, I glanced over my shoulder just to see that no one was looking. I won't say that experience made everything better, but it did give me the confidence to try opening up my fingers to drop the block on the ground. And it did, and I felt even better. Well, all right, I exhaled. At least I have the power to drop things. Not a huge win, I know, but something. Some tiny bit of control. I watched the little dirt cube hover at my feet for a second, then reached out to pick it up again. I didn't flinch the second time it jumped to meet me. Okay, I said, taking a cautious breath. If I can drop you, maybe I can. I moved the cube down to one of the pouches on my belt and sighed deeply as it obediently dropped inside. So, I said, smiling down at the belt. Stuff, well, dirt at least, shrinks small enough for you to carry it. Weird, but maybe useful in this dream. I couldn't say world yet. I was still too fragile. Brrr, bubbled my stomach, reminding me it was still there. Right, I said, and took the cube back out of my belt. And since I can't eat you, I can't think of a reason to carry you around. I held the shrunken box out to the hole where I dug it up. At maybe a pace or so away, it jumped right out of my hand, swelled back up to its original shape, and snapped into place as if nothing had happened. Well, almost nothing. Digging it out had taken off its green cover. I hummed, and tried digging it up again. Sure enough, a few punches drove it right into my hand. When I put it down this time, I tried setting it next to the hole instead of inside it. Again, it sprang back to the normal size, sitting securely on the ground. I hummed again, my newfound calm allowing the wheels to turn. Something about setting the block down in a new place reminded me of a buried memory. I don't think it was a memory specific to me, but rather to the not dream world. Something about little kids playing with blocks, making things, building. If everything here is made of blocks, I said to the newly replanted cube, and all these blocks keep their shape, could I stack them into things I want to build? Grrp, came a particularly angry protest from down south. Right, I told my stomach, and turning to the block, I said, maybe later. I gotta eat. I figured I'd give the grass one more try before moving on. I'm glad I did. On this fifth attempt, the vanishing clump left a collection of hovering seeds. Finally, I thought, and tried picking them up. One weird minor quirk of this dream was that I could only grab all 6 seeds at the same time, and wasn't able to hold them individually. Another weird and ridiculous nature quirk was that I wasn't able to consume them. My hand just froze there, inches from my mouth, and wouldn't let me eat. Really? I said, and tried to move my face to my hand instead. That didn't work either. Like an invisible force field was holding them apart. Really? I repeated sarcastically, feeling all the frustration and anger rising up. Fine! My arm cocked to throw the seeds away. What stopped me was the block of dirt I'd just been experimenting with. When I set it down a few minutes ago, the green cover was missing. Now it was back. The turfy layer had regrown. That fast, I thought, looking down at the seeds. Do all plants grow that fast? Maybe I could try planting these seeds. And boy did I. I tried every way I could think of. I dropped the seeds back on the ground, but they just hovered. I punched them into the soil, but that just unearthed another block. And after setting that block down in a new position above ground, I even tried pushing the seeds into the side. Nothing worked. Why won't I hissed through clenched teeth and stopped myself. Going down the wide path would lead me right back to a full-blown meltdown. Keep going, I said with a huff. Don't give up. Dropping the seeds into a belt pouch, I desperately looked around for another option, another food source, any distraction. The trees. I ran over to the closest one, trying to peel away sections of the bark. Do people eat bark? Maybe, but I couldn't. My hands wouldn't let me grab the light and dark striped brown cover. They also wouldn't let me climb the waist-thick trunk up to the square bunches of small mini-cubed leaves. I didn't give up. I couldn't afford to. If this is a dream, I said, then I can just fly up and get some. Fists raised, eyes up, I leapt into the air and came down just as quick. In that crucial moment, suspended in midair, something truly magical happened. I tried punching at the leaves above me, and even though they were a block or two away, I felt my fist impact. I began hesitantly striking up above me. I can reach? Sure enough, though my actual arm didn't stretch from 4 block lengths away, I could still hit the dappled cubes above my head. I can reach, I shouted, and began bashing at the leaves. Creeping insanity faded with each empowering punch. Yeah, I belted as the first cube vanished, dropping a red, shiny, semi-rounded fruit into my hand. That's what I'm talking about. And this time my body let me eat. Maybe that's the key, I thought, crunching on the fruit's crispy sweetness and feeling the juice run down my throat. Maybe my hand will only let me eat what's edible. It might not have looked exactly like an apple, but it tasted just like one, and I thought the scent of the earth was comforting. This new sensation was so empowering I actually felt a sting at the corners of my eyes. Keep going, I said, as the entire apple disappeared into my welcoming stomach. Never give up. Without realizing it, I just learned something. Call it a mantra or a life lesson or whatever, but they were words to live by, and they'd be the first of many on this strange and wonderful journey. Never give up.
Barrett.
Chapter 2. Panic Drowns Thoughts. If you enjoy this, and I sure hope you do, don't forget to subscribe and drop a like if you can.
It's too many lines.
Using my new power, I knocked out the other leaf blocks and the
now.
rest of the trees. I not only came away with 2 more apples,
There we go.
but a critical discovery about my belt and pack. It happened right after the first apple, when I was boxing the leaves. Instead of dropping fruit, I got a small sapling. On strike again, I asked my frozen hand, and dropped the mini tree into my belt. Seconds later, when I got a second one, I absent-mindedly stuffed it into the same pouch. That's when I realized they'd not only shrunk, but flattened and stacked themselves together like playing cards. Well now, I said with a smile, this might actually be helpful. This turned out to be an understatement. By the time I had finished stripping all those trees, I managed to stack 12 compressed saplings into just one compartment. And I might add, at 0 weight. Looking over the additional pouches in my pack, I thought, can I carry a whole warehouse worth of stuff? Which means, I said, scowling at the belt, my knee deflating like a stack of saplings.
Yeah, you can.
Until
I always do, and I'm always overfilled.
You're as helpful as a wind-powered fan. There's gotta be more apple trees, I thought, staring up at the cliff. Through panicked eyes, it initially looked like an impossible barrier. Now, calmer, confident, and well-fed, I could see that it was more like a steep slope than a sheer wall. Who knows what else is over there, I thought, hiking up square dirt cubes. If I'd only thought clearly instead of being such a total dweeb, I wouldn't have trapped myself on this side of the island in the first place. In fact, maybe it wasn't an island at all. Maybe this beach was the start of a whole continent. Don't get me wrong, I hadn't abandoned the notion of this being just a dream,
everything.
but still, part of me couldn't help wishing to come up over the top of the hill.
What is Minecraft to you guys?
Or a town,
I'm a bit of a nerd
or a
about
giant
it, but
city, or there wasn't.
I mean, it's a very creative thing. That's what I like about it.
And stared with crushing
You can use creative, or you can try and do it, as if you were trying to do it.
Claw, 2 wooded pincers nearly enclosing a round, shallow lagoon. I couldn't judge just how large the island was. By that point, I still wasn't very good at measuring by blocks. But it couldn't have been too big because I could definitely see the end of it under the late afternoon sun. And with the sinking orange square, so went my spirits as well. Just like in the water,
Just put a little bit of shade in there.
And just like in the water, I was wrong. Move. The sound made me jump. What? I said nervously, looking all around. Who's there? Move, came the sound again, pulling my eyes to the base of the hill. It was an animal, black and white, with a body as rectangular as its surroundings. I picked my way down the western slope, which was easier and more gradual than the treacherous eastern side, and walked right up to the...
If you've seen any of my other inking videos, you'll know what I'm doing now.
I could see that it wasn't
what I'm using
black and white.
is my felt tip, which is completely dead, but because it's got a little bit of ink in there,
You've got to be a
it's
cow,
shaded.
I said, and the moo I got was the best sound I'd heard all day. You don't know how happy I am to see you, I sighed. I mean, hey, I know it's just a dream and all, but it still feels so good not to be... The word stuck in my throat, stinging my nose and eyes. Alone. Bah, answered the cat. Wait, what? I asked, stepping closer. Are you like bilingual or what? Bah, said the animal, but not the one in front of me. I looked up and past the cow, to where the sounds true.
Oh no!
It was rectangular, duh, but a little shorter.
What a
and
sheep! It's
practically
come
all black.
to
I'd almost
speak.
missed it
You
in
can
the
buy
delight of the
lingual.
early evening.
What?
Now that I'd approached the darkening woods, another animal as white as the clouds above stepped
What?
out from behind its black twin.
Sorry, I'll stop
Despite
that.
their straight black outlines, I could see the barest details of little toes. "You're sheep," I said, smiling,
Ba
and reached out to pet one.
ba 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 ba. I'm a
The
sheep.
animal yelped, flashed pinkish red, and took
Beep
off
beep.
running through the
I'm a
woods.
sheep.
"Oh, sorry," I called after it. "Sorry, little sheep." I
Yeah.
felt so bad that I turned to its unfazed friend and babbled, "I didn't mean it. Really. I still don't know how to use this body, you know." Cluck, 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 came an answer to my left. Two small birds, each about a block high, were pecking the nearby ground. They had short, skinny legs, plump
This video
bodies
I'm having
covered
problem
in
with.
white feathers, and small heads
Maybe I
ending in
just put
flat
more
orange
lines there.
beaks. "I'm not sure
Maybe
if
that'll
they're
help.
chickens," I told
Put
them.
more
"You
lines
do
there.
have kind of duckish features." They glanced up at me for a second and clucked. "But you sound like chickens," I continued.
Oh, the chicken
Just
ducks. I hate those
chickens
things.
makes more
They
sense than
confuse me.
chickaducks. The word gave me a little chuckle, which quickly became a real guffaw. It felt good to laugh, to let all the crazy
Chicken
tension
ducks.
of the day out.
Yeah.
That's when I heard a new
Stupid
sound.
things. What are you?
Grrr. It was a throaty, phlegmy gargle that sent chills up my spine.
That's a
I looked all
zombie.
around, trying to figure out the source. Sound on this island seemed to come from all directions. I stood there listening, wishing the chickens would shut up. Then I smelled it, mold and rot, like a dead rat in an old sock. I couldn't see the figure until it was only a dozen or so paces away. At first I thought it was another person, dressed just like me, and I took an automatic step
Shouldn't have
forward.
done that.
Then, just as instinctively, I stopped and backed away. Its clothes were ragged and filthy. Its flesh was mottled green. Its eyes, if you could call them eyes, were nothing but lifeless black points in a flat, unmoving face. Memories flooded my mind, images of creatures I'd known from stories but had never seen in person. And now here it was, approaching with outstretched arms. This was a zombie. I tried to retreat, bumping against a tree. The zombie closed. I dodged. Wadded fists smashed into my chest, throwing me back. Pain shot through my body. I gasped. It lunged. I fled. Numb with fear, I sprinted for the hill. I wasn't thinking, wasn't planning. Terror drove my every step. Something clacked in the darkness behind me, followed by a noise like whipped air. Something smacked into the tree in front of me. A feather-tipped, quivering stick. An arrow. Was the zombie armed? I hadn't noticed. I just kept running. Something red flashed to my right. A cluster of eyes, followed by a clipped hiss. I scampered up the slope of the hill, glancing back only when I was at the summit. In the pale light of a rising square moon, I could see that the zombie was still coming. It was already at the bottom of the slope, and was beginning to climb up after me. Throat closing in fright, I tore my way down the eastern cliff. I slipped, fell to the bottom, and heard a sickening crack. "Urgh," I hissed, as bolts of agony stabbed through my ankle. Where to go?
Nope.
What
Already
to
it's
do?
gone again.
Should I jump back into the ocean and try to swim away? I froze at the edge of the blackened water. What if that squid was still out there? And what if it had gotten hungry? Another moan echoed across the starry night. I turned to see the zombie's head poke up over the top of the hill. Frantically, I looked for somewhere to go, someplace to hide. My eyes flicked back and forth, settling on a single block of earth I dug out earlier in the day. From it came the spark of a desperate idea. Digging. As the zombie started down the slope, I ran to the cliff below it and furiously tore into the earth. 1, 2, 3, 4 punches, and the first block in front of me came away. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the one behind it popped free. I could hear the ghoul approaching, but each groan growing louder. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I heard 4 earthen blocks right in front of me, 2 above and 2 below, just enough for me to squeeze into place. Deeper, my mind screamed. Get deeper. And if fate could talk, it would have sneered and said, "You're not going anywhere." My fists bounced off something cold and hard. I hit solid rock. A few pointless punches told me I was trapped, the monster barely seconds away. I spun, saw the zombie.
Well, as you can see, I haven't put myself in there, or
between
I
us.
should say my Minecraft character,
The ghoul
but
reached over, smashing me in the chest. I
got
flew
a bit of
back
an
through the
idea because he
stone wall,
has wings,
chest
and
aching, gasping for breath. I
maybe having
jumped
him
and
either
soared
flying up
2
here
miles
or
above the first.
leaping
This
here
fall, I was
somewhere.
buried alive. My tomb shut out light but not sound. Zombie moans still rang in my ears. What if it could dig? What if I only delayed death by seconds? Go away, I shouted helplessly. Just leave me alone. Gagging sounds answered. Please, I pleaded. Unfeeling, uncaring, unstoppable moans answered. Wake up, I whispered. I've got to wake up. Wake up, wake up. In desperation, I started jumping up and down, hitting my head against the ceiling, trying to jolt myself awake. Wake up, wake up, wake up. I fell back against the stone wall, head throbbing, eyes burning, chest heaving in rapid, panicked sobs. Why? I whimpered. Why can't I wake up? And just then the zombie barked a deep, violent groan. Because it's not a dream. No, the creature wasn't talking to me. I'd put words in its decayed mouth. Words that I needed to hear. This isn't a dream, I imagined hearing from the mobile corpse. And it's not an injury or hallucination. This is a real place, a real world, and you're going to have to accept that to survive. You're right, knowing I was talking to myself, but still thinking that talking to a dead guy was somehow saner. This isn't happening in my head. This is happening. The fragment of a half-remembered song floated through the fog of my amnesia. Something about finding yourself in a strange place. I couldn't remember all of the lyrics, but one stuck clearly in my mind. You may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? I don't know.
Huh? Huh?
I don't know how I got here.
How did I get
Here
here?
it is. Another planet, another dimension.
How did I
know,
get
but I
here?
know there's no point in
Wait,
denying it anymore.
Morty,
And that acceptance came this huge
how
wave
did
of
you get
calm,
there?
and the calm came a new mantra. Panic drowns thought, I told the zombie. So it's time to stop panicking and start figuring out how to survive. The audio in this one is a bit quiet, especially towards the end. Sorry,
Hold
it
it.
won't happen again.
Don't worry about it, mate. You're good. Like it's a good story. I don't know about you. I'm actually enjoying listening to this.
Don't assume anything. What's my next move? I asked the darkness. Given that I was trapped, literally with my back to the wall, with a snarling corpse just a handful of dirt away, the options seemed pretty limited. For a long while, I tried to just focus on my breathing, clearing my mind, letting the ideas flow. Ironically, the first clear thought I had was that my breathing might be using up all of my air. How much did I have? Was I already suffocating? What did suffocation feel like? I tried to sense any changes in my body, any feelings that weren't there before. And that's when I noticed that all the pain from my injuries was gone. Both my head and ankle felt completely fine. My stomach, on the other hand, was completely empty. I chomped down on another apple, trying to make sense of what was happening. Am I losing oxygen to the brain? I wondered. Or did I just heal super fast? Seriously, am I a superhero? The thought suddenly gave me a rush of hope. The zombie groaned. Is that it? I asked the ghoul. Does this world give me hyper healing? And do the apples or any food have something to do with it? Another non-committal groan. You don't have to answer, I said. I'll figure everything out. Because
No, mindless. What's Tuesday?
This is a whole new world with a whole new set of rules, like punching from a distance, or a little bag that holds a lot of stuff. Deeper breathing brought greater calm, and greater calm brought clearer thinking. I just need to figure out what's what, I stated matter-of-factly. And I'll do that as soon as I bust out of here. On cue, the zombie groaned back. And when I do, you'll be waiting. So I'll need some kind of weapon to defend myself. A club, or a spear, or... The zombie gave a quick, high-pitched growl I hadn't heard before. Hey, I said, putting my ear to the dirt. What gives? Had it heard me? Were we having an actual conversation? The sharp, harsh growls kept coming, like the creature was reacting to something, like it was in pain. You okay? I asked reflexively. Hey, I'm sorry if talking about weapons hurts your feelings or something, but in all fairness, you are trying to kill me, so... Halfway through my babbling, I noticed the sounds were gone. Hello? I called out to silence. I thought I could smell something seeping through the dirt. Smoke. With the zombie building a fire outside my hole and trying to smoke me
I got
out.
this.
Could zombies do that?
Oh, thanks.
If sitting here meant dying of
I dropped
smoke
it.
inhalation, I had to take my chances out in the open. Heart pounding, I knocked out the dirt cube in front of my face and blinked hard in the light of the spare morning sun. I couldn't see the zombie, but I could still smell its rotten stench, now mixed with the strong scent of smoke. I tore out the second block and stepped cautiously onto the beach. I looked right, then left, then down, then wrinkled my nose. A chunk of putrid meat
And that's
was
what I'm
hovering
drawing.
at my feet. I picked it up nervously.
And that's what I've drawn
Instantly
so
uttered
far.
hoarseness. The fringes were charred like a burnt burger. I didn't need to ask where the smoky smell had come from. I darted across the sand, thinking that this was a trap, and the zombie might be waiting on the hill just above me. It wasn't. The coast, literally, was clear. Hey, dead dude, I shouted, holding up the hunk of rock. You forgot yourself? I waited a tense minute, hoping the chunk's owner wouldn't come slouching back over the hill. It didn't. This bit of burnt, grody gut had to be all that was left. But why? The sun. But didn't daylight only kill vampires? Maybe in my world. But, I said to the chunk, we're not in my world, and I can't assume anything. And just as I said that, my eyes fell on my small, cliff-sized hidey hole. Specifically, I noticed the 2-block long, 1-block wide ceiling of dirt. Why hadn't it collapsed on top of me? What was holding it up? I went back into the hole and punched out the 2 earthen blocks above my head. Then, moving away so they wouldn't land on me, I put them right back in place. And they stuck. Cool, I smiled, feeling a surge of confidence. Other than hyper-healing, the ability to stick dirt blocks to each other was a huge advantage of this world. It meant that I could build a shelter without nails or cement or whatever kept houses up. That's assuming, of course, that there wouldn't be a natural sanctuary waiting for me somewhere out here. I hiked to the top of the hill, scanned the entire length of the island, checking the north and south slopes just to be sure, then heaved a heavy sigh of disappointment. There was no cave, no hole, no move right in fortress. I noticed the cow, 2 of them actually, grazing at the bottom of the western slope, munching and moving to their heart's content. Well, I called down to them, my eyes now fixed on the trees. At least I was right about the sun chasing those monsters away. The light had definitely banished whatever had been lurking in the woods the night before. Where had they gone? And for that matter, where had they come from?
Well, let's get on with some actual stuff. Right, so we've done this piece here, which is, I ain't done right, but I've got as close as I think I'm going to be able to on this. And I'm going to be building the top half now. Building. Or building up, I should say.
They probably would have answered, sure, not just
I don't know if that's too short, though.
Thanks, I said sarcastically. Then turned to climb back down.
It's not 2 blocks high, is it? There's 1 block.
For a moment, I hesitated, wondering if I should build a single.
The second block would be about here.
People did when they were marooned on an island? Maybe, but I had no idea how to do it. But what I did know how to do, though, was dig. Using nothing but my hands, I punched out enough dirt blocks to spell the word help. Maybe a low-flying airplane or even a high-flying satellite will see it.
I mean, none of those in Minecraft. Bloody belter, what they called. Only flying thing you have there is a phantom, which I caught, haha. And it is around about, if you go and check out the upload tomorrow, round about there. Right next to the Tower of Flight. Just on the entrance, just to show them off.
I thought about building a dirt hut out from my hole in the cliff.
Flew in, I made a little fence around 4 horses, and then thought, I wonder if I could catch him if I put a roof. And he swooped in, and yep, he's mine.
A few flimsy dirt walls. But how to do that? I couldn't tunnel through the stone with my bare hands. Could I? Don't assume anything, I reminded myself, raising my fist to the smooth gray wall. You already have a distance punch superpower. Maybe that punch can break rocks. Turns out, it can't. Ow, 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 I yelped with each hit. Yes, it's true that this world lets flesh do damage to solid rock. And yes, after battering for a while, it did look like I was making progress. The gray hue didn't crack, though. Not like it would in my world. What I saw were little multicolored mini blocks spreading out from my impact point. But the moment I rested my bruised, aching hands, all the damage done to the rock soaked right back up. Ah, man! I shouted, and decked the rock again, which forced out another painful ow. Apparently, I wasn't the only thing in this world with hyper healing. What do I need to take? I asked the silent, mocking stone. Some kind of tool was the obvious answer, like the castaways in all those stories. But they usually had a whole shipwreck of supplies, or a hatchet, or at least a talking volleyball. What did I have? Fuzzy memories and that backpack full of nothing. Well, almost nothing. I tried hitting the stone wall with things I had collected: saplings, dirt cubes, even zombie flesh. For all I knew, this world gave any of them the power.
Stop there. You might be macking it up.
None of them worked. But the sapling gave me the idea to try ripping a piece of harder, stronger wood from the leafless trees behind me. I went over to the closest trunk and punched out the bottom section. Timber! I shouted, then let out a confused huff. Not only was the tree still upright,
Pretty sure I am.
it was standing with
Have a
nothing
look at that again.
it to the ground.
I think it's too late now, but can save it with something
Rocks
maybe.
and zombies are one thing, but gravity? The floating trunk didn't move. Okay, I know.
No, they're all in
My
that
dad
direction.
shaked
That's
hands.
alright.
Your world, your rules. A few seconds later, I saw how true those words were. I
Maybe
tried
if I
bashing
do.
the cubed log against the cliff and got nothing more than a sore hand. I winced and, without thinking, started to pass the log to my left hand in order to give my right one a break. What? My square eyes widened as my left hand opened to reveal a luminous grid. There were two lines, up, down, side to side,
That's better.
dividing my palm into four sections. As the
It's 'cause
sharp
this line.
fell into the bottom left
But it's a
hand,
separating line, so that's
one
alright.
image of four stacked
The colour.
planks floated up from my open right hand. All right, I said nervously, not sure if what was happening was good or bad. I tried slowly closing my fingers. The planks grew solid, just as the log in my left hand vanished. All right, I said with growing zeal. In addition to the ability to heal quickly, punch things from a distance, and stick blocks to themselves without support, somehow this world allowed me to transform raw materials into finished products in seconds. How long would that task have taken in my world? How many hours of chipping, measuring, sawing, and sanding? And that's assuming I already knew how to do any of it. This world let me be a master crafter just by changing hands. What can I make with these? I wondered, passing the stacked planks to my left hand. This time, a tiny wooden mini cube floated above my right. A button, I breathed. Not the kind for clothes, but the kind you press. Head spinning, literally dizzy with new discoveries. I could only imagine what would happen when I pressed it. Would the button transform whatever it was stuck to into something completely different? Would it transform me? Or maybe it would raise up a giant gleaming fortress that held a white-haired spirit who could answer all my questions and teach me how to use my powers. Hadn't that happened in a movie? I closed my hand to the button, grabbing it from the air and sticking it to the suspended tree. Was this the key to sending me home? Ready, I shouted to the heavens, my shaking hand reaching out to the all-powerful,
Coffee's run out.
Click.
Why is the
Right,
coffee
I
always
sighed, hearing
gone?
the wah-wah of a trombone inside my head. So much for all the answers. But looking down at the remaining wood, I said, but maybe you've still got a few. I spread the three planks, and among the four spaces in my hand, got nothing. But as soon as I took one away, the other two, sitting one above the other, projected the image of long, sturdy sticks. A club, I shouted, grabbing them from the air. Putting three in my belt, I swung the fourth like a demented Neanderthal. Me strong, me have weapon. Then, still in character, I looked back at the stone wall and growled, me also have rock breaker. I should have quit experimenting right then and there. I should have gone back to digging out my underground shelter. But, big surprise, I didn't. Just a few more experiments, I said, turning my back to the rock wall, and then I'll get to work. Since the one remaining plank was only good for making buttons, I slipped it into my belt and started bashing down the rest of the suspended tree. I divided the new planks among all four sections of my hand and gaped in wonder at the ghostly image they produced. The cube seemed to have all kinds of tools hanging from its sides. "Here we go," I shouted, grabbing this new game changer. It didn't matter that the tools were as painted on as my clothes. The whole workbench, or crafting table, was a tool. The top was laid out in 9 sections that looked and acted exactly like my left hand. "Oh yeah," I sang, doing what would have now become my signature victory dance. I hopped a few times, spun once, hopped again, then reached for my remaining wood planks and threw them on the table. "Let's get crafting." My first few results were, let's just say, less than stellar. Placing 2 planks side by side got me a thin, almost full block wide square. Placing the square on the ground and stepping on it got me the same anticlimactic click as the button. 3 planks across got me 6 half-cube thick slabs. Doubling them to 6 planks got me 2 similar slabs, but with square holes cut in the corners. I placed one down on the ground, walked around it, stepped on it to no effect, and also tried to punch it back up again. Instead of shrinking into my hand, the slab tilted outward like a hatch. "Awesome," I thought. "Now I don't need hinges." And this theory was further proved when I tried a combination of 6 upright planks and got 3 full-size doors. I set one down on the ground, saw that it remained standing, then reached out to open it. And yes, the freestanding door swung open with a totally normal creaking sound. I know what you're thinking, okay? Why not just quit the crafting and get right to work making a house for this door? Or, at the very least, dig a rabbit hole in the ground and cover it with a hatch. Believe me, I thought about it, and I really was going to do it eventually. But I couldn't stop without making the hand tools I saw on the sides of the crafting table. I mean, if this world had put them there, they had to exist. So why wasn't I able to make them? I felt like those hand tools were just one more combination away. After all, I made so much progress and even picked up another lesson in the process. Figuring out the rules turns them from enemies into friends. Just a few more tries, I promised, placing a plank on every section of the table. When that got me nothing, I happened, by sheer chance, to take the middle one out first. Instantly the image of the box appeared. And I don't mean a box-shaped something. I mean an actual box. I put it down in front of me and opened the hingeless lid. It seemed to be a fixed version of my pack, with just as many compartments. Figures, I huffed. Tons more storage and nothing to store. And on the subject of emptiness, my next experiment, 3 planks in a V, got me 4 empty wooden bowls. Instinctively, I pictured filling them with all kinds of soups and stews. Mouth-watering, I reached for an apple. For the first time, though, my hand refused to move, and a second later I realized why. I wasn't hungry. This world only let me eat when I needed to, not when I wanted to. Well, that's not fun, I told the apple, but at least I'll never waste food, if I find any more. Looking at the leafless tree trunks, I wondered if I shouldn't try searching for more apples before it got dark. But before I did that, I really had to get moving on that shelter. But before I did that, just one more thing. I put another load of planks on the crafting table, adding a few more to change the V to a U. At first I thought I'd just make another bowl, but larger and more oval shaped, like a tub or a boat, I shouted, yanking it from the eater. With it still miniaturized in my hand, I ran up and over Disappointment Hill. "Hey guys," I shouted to the grazing animals. "Check this out, I got a boat." The sheep and cows glanced up casually, then got back to more important munching. "And a heartfelt farewell to you," I said, running past them to the northern beach. I sent this tiny model tub into the water, and it instantly grew into a full-sized skiff. Climbing aboard, I couldn't believe how stable it was. No rocking, no bobbing, totally smooth. Since there was no motor or sail, I figured the only way to get going was by paddling. I leaned forward and dipped my hands in the water, and the boat suddenly began to move. All I gotta do is lean, I thought, smiling as the little craft picked up speed. Escape! Freedom! Yeah, I yelled, turning back to give my island prison a final goodbye. I intended to shout something snarky like, "So long, suckers," but stopped when I saw the last bit of land shrink to a speck on the horizon. I sat up slightly, slowing the boat. I squinted for land up ahead. There wasn't any. I glanced back at the island. It was gone. I came to a full stop, looked in every direction, and saw nothing but sky and sea. And that's when reality set in. What was I thinking? Where was I going? Escaping the island didn't mean escaping the world. At least back there I kind of knew what I was dealing with. Out here it was all unknown. This is what I should have considered when carving my help sign on the hill, back when I was dry and safe. What if there wasn't any other land? Or what if the other land didn't have any people? Or what if the people were as dangerous as the zombies? Or what if there were only zombies and the other monsters I'd seen last night? Or worse. Gulping down stomach acid, I spun around and sped back to the island. Only the island wasn't there. Was I going in the right direction? I moved this way and that, looking for just the faintest hint of green. Nothing. I was lost. Stupid, I hissed, furious with myself for making such a thoughtless mistake. I'd been so eager to get home that I'd blown my one chance to survive, and I was right back where I'd started, helpless and hopeless. No way was I getting out of this one. Sooner or later I'd eat my last apple, and starve slowly under the baking sun. Or maybe I'd get eaten by a squid. Maybe one was coming for me now. I could almost feel the hungry arms rising from the depths, ready to smash my boat and drag me under. Hopefully I drowned before they tore me apart. Drown. Panic, drown, stopped, I whispered, feeling the strength in my words. The enemy wasn't rising squids, but my own rising hysteria, squeezing my chest, clouding my brain. Panic, drown, stopped, I shouted, and I'm not going to drown. I reached into my belt, not for the apple, but for a cube of dirt. Fittingly, I still had plenty from the help sign. I closed my eyes and inhaled its rich, grounding scent. Weird, I know, but it helps. Let's go find the rest of you, I suppose. We have to be close. There's no current, and the breeze can't have blown us too far off course. The breeze. So far, I'd only noticed gusting east to west. I looked up at the clouds and noticed their movement with the line of the setting sun. Now we know east to west, I said with growing confidence. And since we started from the island's north beach, keeping the sun to the right means heading south. I put the dirt back in my belt and leaned cautiously forward. And there it was, the top of Disappointment Hill. I sighed in relief, leaning as far forward as I could. The boat shot headlong onto the beach, smashing into planks and sticks against the sandy northern shore. I didn't care. Made it, I whispered, wishing my body could let me kiss the ground. Moo, called an approaching cow, its voice heavy with criticism. I know, I said, getting out of the water and collecting the remains of my boat. I wasn't thinking. Moo, said the cow. You're right, I answered. I gotta think before I act, and it doesn't just mean figuring out my next move. I need a clear, long-term strategy if I'm going to survive this world. Moo, agreed the cow. I've got to focus on covering the basics, I continued. Stockpiling food, building a secure shelter, crafting tools and weapons, and whatever else I'll need to make my life more comfortable. I began pacing back and forth, emphatically gesturing to the watching animal. I've got to turn this island into a comfort zone, a safe place where I can learn all I can about how this world works. And then, when I've got all the basics covered, then I can start asking the really big questions, like how I got here, and how I get home. And just as I considered those big questions, an even bigger, scarier one came to mind. Can I do this? I asked. All by myself, with no one to help me. I stared down at my painted shoes. No one to protect or guide or, I could barely get the words out, take care of me. I closed my eyes, trying to remember something, anything about who I was. If I'm a kid, I said, trembling, then grown-ups must have done a lot for me. And if I'm a grown-up, and I still don't remember doing much for myself. Memories of that other, different world flashed before my anguished eyes. Memories of machines and luxuries and clicking a screen to order anything I wanted. I think my world did a lot for me. So many people doing so many different jobs that nobody had to worry about doing everything. I looked up in the cow's face. Can I do everything? Can I take care of me? The square animal gave a long, low moo. which I took for, "What other choice is there?" "Only one," I answered, "to curl up and die." I sighed hard, which I won't do. "I choose to take care of myself," I proclaimed, as desperation morphed into determination. "I choose to believe in myself." "Moo," said the cow. Sounded to me like, "Now you're talking." "I can do that," I bellowed boldly. "I can and I will. I noticed the sun had almost set. I gotta get out of here." Confidence vanished as I raced out of the woods. How long did I have before the night terrors rose again? How long before they hunted me down? And that's chapter 3. The other chapters are in a playlist on my channel, so just look in the playlist section and you'll find it. And more are coming soon. Hopefully 1 in 3 days or so. See you then.
Oh no. I'm not finished. I hope you made another one.
Chapter 4.
There we go.
Details make the difference. By the time I reached the top of the hill, my mind was like
Oh, this is harder than it looks.
Turning to the setting sun, I begged, "Not yet. Please don't leave me alone with the monsters. Stay a little longer. Please don't abandon me." "Moo!" cried the distant cow, as if to say, "Stop whimpering and move your butt." And I did. I rushed down the eastern slope to the beach, over to my shallow hole. I started banging at the stone cliff with my digging stick, and suddenly felt
It's my digging stick.
I was taking forever. If I'd only tested the stick earlier, if I hadn't just assumed it would work. The soft moan flowed through the night air. Another zombie was coming. I jumped at the sound, dropped my stick, and looked frantically around. Just like the lesson about not assuming, I'd also completely lost the mantra of ground thought. I was in full panic mode now. A trapped rat waiting for an undead cat. Grrr came a louder, closer moan. I looked down from my stick. It was gone, maybe hovering close by, but in the growing darkness I couldn't see it. Grrr, gargled the ghoul. I looked up at the hilltop and saw my foe. I reached into my belt for one of the other 3 sticks. My hand brushed the earthen cubes. Build! The zombie was starting down the slope toward me. Something glinted in its grasp. A weapon? I raced to create a hobble around myself, slamming dirt blocks down into walls. Yes, I suppose I could have and should have just blocked myself back up in the hole. It would have been the quicker, easier choice. But the thought of being buried alive again, passively pinned in an upright grave, was enough to squeeze the air from my chest. The zombie was only 20 steps away. I jammed the door into place. 10 steps. I finished the walls and realized I didn't have enough dirt for the roof. 5 steps. I grabbed a wooden slab from my belt, throwing it up against the corner wall. It thudded with the impact of a rotted foot. I slapped up slabs and wooden planks, just 1 step ahead of the slouching ghoul. I fitted the last corner plank, blotting out the stars, thinking I was safe. Then I heard the oof as the zombie hit the ground. Reeking fists began pounding at my door. Heart thumping, I retreated against the far wall. Cold, hard stone pressed against my back. Door in front of me buckled. I could see dark, many-cubed cracks spreading across its surface. Another few blocks would send it crashing down. "Fine," I barked. "You want to fight? Come on, let's do this." Stick in hand, I waited for the door to splinter. I waited and waited and waited, and then saw that wood, just like stone, and just like me, could heal. I watched the zombie get within maybe a punch or two of breaking down the thin, buckling barrier before having to restart the whole process again. "Yeah," I taunted. "That's right. Now you know how I felt." Nodding like a proud rooster, I strutted over to the door. "You ain't getting in," I sang. "You ain't getting—" Too close. A moldy arm shot through one of the open squares and shocked me right in the throat. "Point taken," I coughed, staggering back. At least it hadn't hit me with whatever was in its other hand. From a safe distance, I tried to get a better look at the weapon. It wasn't easy, especially in the darkness of my hut. I thought I could see a long, thin wooden handle, similar to my own sticks. Dim moonlight glinted off something at the end. It was flat, roundish, and tapered to a point. That's a shovel, I exclaimed. How did you get a shovel? Then, quickly added, how come I didn't get one? I'm not ashamed to say that I was jealous. After all that crafting I'd done, I'd made everything but the kind of tool that got me crafting in the first place. And now the very thing I wanted was right outside my door. That's not fair, I pouted. The zombie growled back, saying what I'm sure anyone would have said to me at the moment. Life's not fair, and whining won't make it fair. Yeah, well, I said, cooling down and squinting back at the shovel. But how did you get one anyway? The tool's head didn't look wooden. It was lighter, more reflective. Is that metal? I asked. Google groaned. Even if it is, it doesn't help me in here, does it? But I squinted at the shovel again, studying it from a whole new angle. But if this world lets you combine a wooden handle with something else to make the head, I asked the zombie, then why can't that head also be made out of wood? The zombie groaned again, and I'm 99% sure that groan sounded like, duh. Whipping up another crafting table, my original was still outside, I placed a stick in the center square and a wood plank above it, and got squat. This time the zombie groan sounded like laughter. What do you expect? I asked. I shot back. Instant success? Even if I had, I wasn't going to let my undead tormentor know that. You almost never get something right the first time. I tried reversing the arrangement, stick above plank, and came up with another big helping of nothing. I'll get it, I reassured Ghoul. I'd not given up. I glanced again at the shovel, making sure I wasn't missing some minor but important detail. I was. A closer look showed me that the shovel's handle was twice as long as my sticks. I moved the plank to the top center square and placed 2 sticks below it. Woohoo! I howled at a near duplicate of the zombie's shovel. I snatched it from the air, whooped again, jumping into my victory dance, and promptly banging my head on the low ceiling. Laugh it up, I told the zombie. Nothing's going to spoil this moment. I pointed the shovel's head at the dirt floor and scooped up the cube with a few quick swipes. Don't ignore the details, I said. Details make the difference. I walked over to the back wall and gave the stone a whack. The wooden blade bounced off harmlessly. Just wanted to make sure, I said over my shoulder. If this thing works for dirt, then something else will work for rocks. I went over to the crafting table and got out all of my remaining planks. You don't have any helpful crafting tips, do you? I asked the zombie. How to make, I don't know, a hammer and chisel or a steam drill? Dead eyes glared silently back. Never mind, I said. I got this. I made a couple more sticks and tried arranging them with 2 more planks in an upside-down L. What I got was a tool similar to a shovel, but with a longer, thinner, right-angled blade. What's this? I asked the zombie, showing it the strange implement. I thought I remembered seeing something like it in my world, something to do with soil. I tried to use it like a shovel, digging up a block from the floor. It worked, but not as quickly. This world wouldn't give me 2 digging tools, would it? And why would one work better than the other? I tried using my new whatchamacallit against the stone. It worked about as well as my fists. What's wrong with this thing? I grumbled, remembering how it felt to punch up grass with my new frustrating hands. Crazily enough, reconnecting with that feeling got me seriously thinking about how I use my body. It's like, I began searching for like I'm in 2 different minds when I'm doing things. There's, I don't know,
Every
like an
single day.
aggressive punch mode.
I will
and
do,
then
mate.
passive
I will
mode.
do. Not
Does
one
that
now.
make sense? Ooh, said the zombie. I know it sounds ridiculous, like something you'd hear from a mountaintop guru or a little green swampy leaf that lift a spaceship with his mind, but doesn't it kind of make sense? Trying to focus my thoughts, I held the strange device against the square dirt floor. Restraining the urge to swing it like a shovel, I concentrated on careful thought. The tool swiped quickly, but gently, across the bare top of the square, taking the first layer of soil with it. Balance, I declared. Survival requires having both aggression and thoughtfulness, hot and cool, yin and whatever the other one's called. Point is to keep them in balance. Grrr, groaned the caterpillar. You should try it sometime, I told it. The thoughtful part of it. And just allowing myself to joke with the would-be killer unlocked another memory of this world. This tool's called a hoe.
Ho!
the ones I tried so hard to plant and almost thrown away. I held them out to the soft, moist earth I just hoed. The seeds vanished from my hand, filling the soil square with lots of little green shoots. Gardening, I trumpeted. That's the missing piece. That's why I planted the seeds yesterday. And if they do grow into something edible, then I've got a renewable source of food. Grrr, growled the zombie, bashing harmlessly at the door. I'm sorry, what was that? I pretended to ask. Oh, yes, you're right. This night is as sucky for you as it is awesome for me. Because while you were stuck out there doing the same thing over and over again, I just learned tool making and agriculture, which is, what, like 1,000 years of human learning in 10 minutes? I sauntered over to the crafting table, and who knows, maybe by dawn I'll crack the code for cold fusion. 3 seconds later, I had made something even better than a nuclear reactor. A pickaxe, I announced, holding up the T-shaped triumph. And all it took was an extra plank. Trickling the zombie to the back wall, I tore into the stubborn stone. The pickaxe worked like a dream, popping out the first block in no time. Finally, I sighed, examining the freed rock. It wasn't a hole, not like the chunks of dirt. It looked more cobbled together, like all the pieces had reformed. And now, I said, glancing back at the zombie's shovel, let's see if I can improve my tools. Just as I thought, this world let me combine the block of cobblestone with a couple of sticks into a stone-tipped shovel. Figuring out the rules, I crowed, and tried using it on the dirt floor. The stone tip worked even faster than the wooden version, which could only mean the same for all the others. Picking out more cobblestone, I went right back to the crafting table. Getting an upgrade, I grinned, gleefully grasping a cobblestone pickaxe. Just as I thought, the new implement tore through the cliff wall like a shovel through soft earth. I couldn't really see where I was going. The deepening tunnel was too dark, but the constant flow of cobblestone into my backpack told me I was making serious progress. Now we're talking, I said, burrowing deeper and deeper into the hill. How's it feel, eh? I asked over my shoulder, knowing you and all those other beasties are never getting in here. My answer came in a familiar, sharp, high gah. Here we go, I said, stepping out of the pitch black hole and into the growing light of the dirt hut. Through the square holes in my door, I could see the rising sun and a now burning zombie. So you do die at dawn, I said, almost a little sorry for the dying ghoul. Gah, 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 it gasped, flashing pink beneath a sheet of flames. Overcome by curiosity, I edged closer and closer to the door. Oops, I said, as my feet accidentally uprooted the little shoots of dirt floor. No matter, I thought, if they jumped right back into my belt. I'll just replant them outside and the zombie... I didn't even get to finish my thought. The burning beast suddenly vanished in a puff of smoke. That was chapter 4. Chapter 5 should be out, as usual, in 3 or 4 days. And, as I said, there is a playlist on my channel with all the chapters, just in case you can't find them. Thanks for watching.
No.
Everyone, if you haven't seen my 100 subscriber special yet, you should check that out.
Oh, bless him.
If you want. Or,
he's a really good reader, I must say.
What to do. Anyway,
go and check him out. There will be a link down below, guys, so you can sort of listen to it again for yourself or show other people what he gets up to. I'm pretty sure you can have a few more.
And no shovel. Whether it had burned with its owner or vanished according to some rule of this world, I couldn't say.
That
I also
sucks.
couldn't
Anyway.
rest a minute mourning its loss. This was going to be an awesome day. I could feel it. Last night I turned the corner on shelter, and now I was ready to kiss hunger goodbye. Pole in hand, I carried the seeds out to a patch of dirt near the shore. Just like before, they jumped right into the freshly tilled soil. How long would it take before they ripened? No way to know. But if they did turn out to be edible, it'd make sense to plant a whole lot more. Punching the other grass clumps turned up zilch, so I decided to spend the morning scrounging. I climbed quickly up the slope of Disappointment Hill and trotted casually down to the central meadow. I wasn't worried about any more zombies this time. I knew the dawn had taken care of them. A good way to start a day, I thought, punching up the tall grass. It wasn't long before I cleared out the whole field and had 3 handfuls of seeds to show for it. Moo! Came a call from the nearby woods, followed by a baa and 2 quick clucks. Hey, good morning, I waved to the animals. You guys would not believe the night I just had. Bounding happily over, I described my discovery of crafting and gave a show and tell of my tools. Cool, eh? I asked, expecting the usual disinterested glances. No, I get it, I said. You can just eat grass as is, but I gotta replant these. I showed them the seeds. The cows and sheep shuffled away. The chickens didn't, though, and their heads shot up with rapt attention. I asked, what do you want? They answered with enthusiastic clucking. These? I asked, showing them the seeds. Are these what you... I stopped just as a white oval object popped from behind one of the birds. An egg, I shouted, switching out the seeds for the hand-sized ball. Now this has to be real food, right? I asked the chickens. I mean, why else would this world let you lay an egg if it wasn't allowed to... I noticed the birds were waddling away. Why had they suddenly lost interest? Hey, where are you going? I asked. Something I
You got no
said?
seeds, mate. You got no seeds.
I looked away from the birds just in time to see the silent creature gliding between us. It was armless
Chicken
and
chop.
legless,
They're off in the farm.
and short, stubby feet.
Took me a while to get those buggers away. Chickens always try and escape from my area, and when they do, that's the time I harvest.
The monster smelled like a balloon. The explosion knocked me backward, lifting me off my feet. Eyes burning, ears ringing. I flew through the air, splashing into the waist-deep water of the lagoon. Waves of pain crashed over me. Seared skin, cracked bones, pulled muscles torn from mangled joints. I tried to scream, but collapsed into hacking coughs as one lung fought to overcome its punctured partner. I struggled to breathe, to move. I could feel the lagoon's waters pulling me forward, carrying me down. I blinked hard, clearing my vision, and stared at the blast crater I'd been washed into, along with loose chunks of sand and earth. Something else swirled in the water around me, the gruesome evidence of death. A scrap of cowhide, a red slab of beef, 2 bright pink bird bodies, and a single white feather was all that was left of those poor animals. As the wretched scraps flew into my path, I clambered dizzily out of the crater. Dazed with shock, I stumbled back to the hill. Knees wobbled, thighs burned. I staggered over waves of pulsing pain. How could I outrun more of those creeping bombs? I glanced behind me, tripped, and crashed into the hard, bruising mass of a tree. The impact sent shockwaves radiating through my injuries. Cracked lips opened for another scream, and this time I succeeded. A long, deep, anguished howl exploded from both, not one of my newly regenerating lungs. I was hyperhealed. As walking became running, which became an all-out sprint, I could feel the bones fusing, the veins sealing. I could see my skin knitting together over rapidly rejuvenating tissue. By the time I slammed my hut's door behind me, my broken body was nearly fixed. Nearly. With injuries still crying for help, I felt my hyper-healing peter out. Food! I reached into my backpack for some apples. Only one left. The animal remains. I scarfed down the apple, but it barely made a dent. Next I reached for one of the whole chickens and devoured it without pause or thought. Had anyone ever warned me about the dangers of eating raw poultry? Even if they had, would it have made any difference now? I couldn't think of anything beyond health. I was too desperate to stop the pain. As soon as I swallowed the last bite of cold, rubbery meat, an eruption of nausea rose up from my churning stomach. I retched, I gagged, I could even see green bubbles floating up across my tearing eyes. I ran out onto the beach, trying to vomit out the infected muck. But the world wouldn't let me. For a horrible, dry, heaving eternity, I had to just stand there and take it. And if being assaulted by my own digestive tract wasn't bad enough, I found out the whole ordeal had barely helped me heal. Insult to injury, I groaned. Still gagging from the memory, I sourly peeked into my pack. Okay, I told the rest of the animal parts. I get it, you need to be cooked. Making fire had just gone from a possibility to a priority, but as I mentioned before, I had no idea how to do it. Racking my brain for some remembered hint, I came up with the notion of rubbing 2 sticks together. If food poisoning can carry over to this world, I reasoned, why not this? Why? Well, for starters, I couldn't even put two sticks in my hands. I could hold one in the right, but not in the left. Anytime I put something in my left hand, it immediately went into one of the four small cracks.
Right, so we've done with the foreground. I still don't know where to put blue. Let's decide where we're going to put him so we can do the midground and then a background.
Dirt out of the hut's wall, letting in a lot more light.
Man, I could put him there-ish with his shield.
After resealing the hole
with my shield.
I tried my last option. Hitting the stick against a plank of wood.
It makes sense why this wouldn't stick out as well.
Growled and my wound seethed. Like it or not, I have to take my chances with the raw food. Passing over the other chicken, I warily eyed the steak.
Look, hello.
Unsafe. What I wouldn't give at this moment,
I can't figure out where to put him. I've got a flying image of him somewhere. I could easily find one up on
I tried to picture what beef had looked like in my world.
Mimic, so if I go and check that out in a second, I might have him flying off over here. It makes more sense for the picture, at least. Give me a second. I'm going to go over to the Mimixer channel and find an image.
My mind was still pink, which had to mean it wasn't cooked all the way through. That image caused another powerful feeling to rise up from deep in my gut.
You can get the app on your phone if you haven't already checked it out. Just go to your wherever you download your apps from and put mixer.com or watch Mixer. Generally, you can find something. You can watch my Mixer Minecraft streams and a load more other people.
Was I eating with my parents, my children, my friends? Was I eating all alone like right now?
I don't know how to watch my streams. Go to past streams. Do. Yeah, it's quite a few. I need somewhere I can be flying.
Please don't make me want to puke, okay? I won't say the beef was better than the chicken, maybe a little tougher, with a rougher texture on the tongue. And it did have a tad more flavor. But what really mattered, of course, was that I didn't get sick, and all of my wounds finished healing.
Go on, jump off. You all know you're gonna.
Barely a few minutes ago. How long would it have taken my will to medicine to put
Nope, we're at the building. No, we flew somewhere else. Nope, we're down the mine. In case we don't fly, we just walk over. Bam.
Not to mention all the necessary resources.
Oh, the boys. Yeah, the boys. We built them their process area. We still need to heal them with the apples. Keeps talking about apples. We had to find those the other day. But that was fun. Will you fly already? Alright, it's not that one who's flying then. Let's go from the actual episode that I'm drawing from, which will be, I believe, this one.
Lucky he was when he saw a man with no feet. Be grateful for what you have, I said.
Yes.
Nodding to my restored limbs. Grrr, prowled my hungry
more of a daytime.
Reminding me that while I might be whole again.
And this one, I'm stupid. I forgot to move the camera up to my face, so you pretty much get chest to controller. For about 10 minutes, and I realized, I need to move the camera. Because it was one afternoon I was streaming, and then they changed over cameras from PlayStation to Xbox. And oops, they didn't change the position of the camera.
While hoping this wasn't a giant waste of time. As the last of the shoots rose from the
yeah, as you can see, the sun sets. Oh, well, actually, can you see it? The sun is setting. Can you fly already, boy?
Under the western edge of disappointment. One of these days, I thought, heading for the hut, I gotta figure out how long these days are. I shivered again in the afternoon.
Oh, that tower of flight is directly down through the tower. Or with sunsets. And yes, it was done on purpose. And no, I did not do it in creative mode.
Suffering from the initial symptoms of starvation. For a moment, I considered climbing the hill to soak up some of the warming rays. From there, I might spot a few more elusive apple trees.
God damn it!
Another rippling shiver held me back there.
That's me, Phantom.
I've been caught
trying to catch him flying.
Already. Not again. Tonight, I get indoors well before the monsters.
To catch him's me, fool.
Today had driven home the need for a bomb-proof bunker, and I thought this was going to be
going for a run up.
I thought, shuffling gloomily back to my shack. The light outside my door was
Apples.
turning purple by the time I smashed out several more blocks of cobblestone. As on the previous evening, The darkness of the cave made for slow going. I knew in my head the darkness alone couldn't hurt me, but try telling that to my heart. This fear wasn't
How about bloody time?
At one point, I thought about knocking
Just
out
took
a
a leap.
square in the hut's wooden roof to let in a patch
Nope,
of
don't do
moonlight.
that.
Then I pictured that patch darkening, with a zombie or a creeper literally dropping in. Keep going, I told my picking arms. Dig it deeper, stronger, safer. While I made some decent progress, the monotony of mining allowed my mind to wander.
Okay,
The
I've
empty
got a
darkness
picture.
filled with shapeless threats. I could feel the jitters taking over.
I'm going to leave you... No, I can't leave you that. I'm going to leave you listen to this a second because I'm going to go make myself a drink and then get back in, take myself for a little rest and come back to looking at this because I know there are certain bits in this that doesn't make sense, and that is because I've messed things up when I've done the shapes, but it's not looking too bad. So what the foreground is just like something you'll see there. You'll kind of, when you do pictures, if you think that's a little bit screwed, but it's enough as a gesture of what you want it to be and it should look like what it could do. And then you add another sort of little picture over here to take your eye off that, but still see that, and then see something over here, and then the what a foreground is sort of. Sometimes it's the main focal point to be a massive amount of detail. So I'm going to try and get as much detail as possible, but it is going to be a small image, and there's lots of little blocks and lots of little details that are in this one. So we'll see how that goes on towards the end of today. But I'm going to do Blue Angel, some Minecraft mountains, and then we'll end, I think, with the main piece. But I need to put my phone on charge quickly, so while I do that, I'll make myself a drink. Come on back. Not going anywhere though, guys. I can still see your comments if you're watching live. And if you're still watching, and you've been watching, thank you very much. I'm stretching!
This was the final piece of the holy trinity of
do I have coffee or do I have tea there?
tourism, agriculture, and now a little piece of the
If I have coffee, I may burn out.
Had saved our ancestors from the coldest winters, what had protected them from the fiercest battles.
Tea.
I pictured the filthy men huddled around its comforting glow, warming their hands and cooking their food. Cooking! This new device was a furnace, the bottom slot for fuel and the top for whatever needed heating. Sure enough, the cobblestone I put in the upper slot and now fused back into a solid monolith. As the fire died, I reached carefully for the block, ready to drop it before it burned my hand. It didn't. Indeed, one more quirk of this world was that items cooled seconds after the furnace. Now for the big test, I said, popping the last rubber chicken into the top slot with a fresh plank of wood and make. Once again, without any means of ignition, the flames roared to life. The little shelter filled with the sounds and smells of cooking grease. I had grabbed the fully cooked bird even before the last of the fire burnt itself out. I moaned, between salty and moist mouthfuls. So a few more places into the furnace. This turned out to be a really good day. Another quick little advertisement before this one. I recently did a little Minecraft playthrough, and I'd really appreciate it if you checked it out. But for now, Chapter 6, Overconfidence.
Yeah.
The chicken was delectable, but it wasn't completely filling. Your turn, I told the egg, to which the egg could have answered. Ever heard that expression, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs? Well, here's this world's version. You can't make an omelet. You can't fit the egg into the furnace. You can't crack it into a bowl. You can't even step on it. So much for walking on eggshells. As a last resort, I tried tossing it in the air to hit it with a stick. But before I could swing, the incredible, inedible egg flew across the room, hit the wall, and disintegrated it like a clump of tall grass.
I didn't get chicken that time.
Great, I grumbled, just as my fire winked out. Darkness returned, along with my irrational fears. Peering into the furnace's lower slot, I saw I still had a few more untouched planks of wood. Why weren't they burning?
Did the
furnace only work when it had something to heat? Shivering with cold and nerves, I ran into my belt and pack for something else to burn. The first thing I grabbed happened to be a block of sand. Thankfully, the furnace accepted my offering, giving me light, heat, and, a few seconds later, a whole new modern convenience. I should have known what I was making. Back in my world, it was everywhere. Every building, every home, every vehicle, and even over people's eyes to help them see better. It was one of those most vital components of human civilization, and I had no idea how it was made. Not until I pulled the smooth, clear block from the furnace did I realize that heating sand got you glass. Dolt, I murmured, punching out a hole in the wall and replacing it with a transparent cube. Did you ever ask where anything comes from? What an amazing thing a window is. It gives you the freedom to see the outside world, but the security of knowing that the world can't come in. At least that's what I hoped. In zombie stories back home, didn't people always board up the windows at the first sight of the living dead? Would I have to do that when my own cuboid corpses showed up? For now, I couldn't hear any ghouls, and I couldn't see through my new south-facing window. That's when I realized I'd placed it on the wrong side. My garden, the only thing worth looking at, was north of my hut. I started punching the glass, expecting it to pop out and hover like all the other blocks. Instead, it shattered like the egg. Oops, I said. No problem, I got a whole beach worth of sand back, right outside. If I'd been more cautious or timid, or even just a little more patient, I might have made the smart choice and waited for the dawn. But did I? The night had gone so well. I'd been racking up so many wins. Fire, cooked food, and now glass for windows. For the first time since landing, I felt fully in control of my situation. I was becoming overconfident, and that's just what got me into trouble. I'd just make a torch, I thought, holding a stick to the furnace. Monsters gotta be afraid of fire. When the stick refused to catch, I should have taken it as a sign to stop and think. But did I? The glow from the cabin's gotta be enough to keep everything away, I reasoned, sauntering out to the moonlit shore. Shovel in hand, trying to whistle through my thin, flat lips, I couldn't wait to make all kinds of cocky mistakes. And I made a ton. Instead of digging right outside my door, I chose a spot halfway up the beach. Instead of gathering a few cubes and dashing back, I just kept going until I dug myself into a hole. Instead of keeping my eyes and ears open, long after the fire died in my cabin, I might add, I fantasized about all the cool things I could build with this glass. A skylight, or wraparound windows, or maybe even a greenhouse if I dug up enough sand. A sharp, rasping hiss yanked me out of my slight nighttime daydream. I froze, looking up. Came the sound again, gripping my gut with recalled terror. It was the same rasp I'd heard that first night in the forest, when I'd seen those terrible eyes. And here they were again, passing right over me, a cluster of small glowing rubies embedded in a black, cow-sized, 8-legged beast. Spider. Before I could run, move, or think, it had just jumped into the hole with me. Snapping jaws tore at my chest. I toppled backward, dropping my shovel. The spider pounced. I dodged. It spun for another strike as I scrambled frantically out of the pit. Scratching legs behind me, coming up fast. My axe, back in the cabin. Too far. A bite on the leg. Pain, fear. I reached into my belt for something, anything. Sand. Nothing but sand. Maybe if I could lay a roof, if I could trap it underground. I reached the top, the spider at my heels. I turned, hit it with a block of sand, then placed that block at the hole's edge. But the sand didn't stick. It fell. As this predator as the tan cube crashed onto its head. I placed another falling block, then another, then another. The spider hissed angrily, pinned under more and more debris. I didn't know if I was doing any harm. I just wanted to keep it buried long enough to escape. The spider rasped. I kept going. It flashed red. I kept going. The nightmare hunter gave one final enraged hiss, then poofed away in a puff of white smoke.
Well,
For
it
a
just
moment I watched in
disappeared.
disbelief, panting
At
as my
least you something
limbs
a little bit
heaved.
handy.
My stomach growled and my brain shouted a new realization. Too much confidence
goes
can
to
be as
waste here,
dangerous
mate.
as having none at all.
Go to waste.
Vibrating with and adrenaline, I looked hastily around for more creatures. Nothing stirred on the beach, hill, or sea. I rushed back down into the pit to get my shovel, and on the way out, felt something hop into my pack. I didn't know what it was till I had gotten safely back to my cabin and thrown the remaining sand blocks into the fire. The spider had left me a going away present, a short, sticky string of silk. I examined the strand for a few seconds, trying to think of some use for it, when the last plank in the furnace burned out. Ah, nuts, I griped, and reached into the storage chest for more wood. I noticed there weren't too many planks left, not compared to all the worthless saplings stored next to them. And then I hit on what I thought was a brilliant idea. I slid a dozen or so green mini trees into the furnace, and they promptly blazed to life. Way to stretch your resources, I thought, with a self-congratulatory smile. I thought I was being so clever. I had no idea I was creating nothing short of an environmental tragedy that would come back to haunt me later. That night, as the little green saplings crackled brightly, I couldn't have been more chuffed. Mission accomplished, I said, hoisting my stone-tip pickaxe. The addition of light allowed me to start thinking about how I wanted the finished room to look. Given my height and space I need for modern conveniences, crafting table, storage chest, and furnace, I imagined a 7x7 block area with a raised ceiling for hopping victory dances. And I felt like doing that dance tonight. My emotional roller coaster took another dive, however, when the furnace fizzled after little more than a minute. So soon, I grumbled, seeing that the saplings were all gone. There had been so many, and they'd lasted maybe a third as long as wood. Good
Back in a
riddance,
second,
I thought,
guys.
tossing in the rest of the blocks. I can cut down more trees tomorrow, I thought. Right now, what I need is light. The key word here was need. I already started this evening with an overwhelming fear of the dark, but now, between the giant spider and the attack and my discovery of fire, I couldn't let the night back in. What happened next was nothing short of a race, a tense, sweaty frenzy to keep my shelter illuminated. At first I thought I was doing all right until the last of the sand melted into glass. Cobblestone, I thought, going back to the first material I used to discover fire. I didn't care that the end result was the exact material I was now trying to clear away. It was the process that kept me warm and safe. But I'd only just gotten back to work when the last of the planks died out. More wood, I hissed, looking over at the hut's plank and slab ceiling. Hastily walling off the bunker from the shack, I started chopping off the ladder's wooden roof. I tried not to think about what would happen if the creature found me so exposed. I needed more fuel, more light. What I really needed was to snap out of my funk and remember the mantra of panic drowning thought, as well as a new one that applied to all the others. It's not wisdom that counts, but wisdom under pressure. Stoking the furnace's bottom slot, I rushed to pick more cobblestone for the top.
Stoke the fire.
I had to keep the balance going. How much longer until dawn? The last plank fizzled. I tore through my pack for something to burn. I threw in the trapdoors, regular doors, that thin, flat pressure plate thing, even the little push button that didn't last more than a few seconds. Then I started burning my tools. Just the wooden ones, I promised.
So,
I don't need them
back
anyway.
to drawing
But once they were
Miar
gone, I turned on the stone versions.
flying
Then the
away.
shovel, then the hoe, then
You
the
can't. I don't know if
fire.
you can see as well as I can,
Into the waning flames, and my
but I'm trying.
growing
That's what I'm
remained.
going to be trying to draw round about
Ironically, it was that
here, I
that kept me
reckon.
from throwing in the last two
As I'm
wooden
flying
items
away.
I had. A couple of standard sticks.
And then we'll have the tower
Since my
where I can
cracked,
put the dots
worn,
here.
stone-tipped pickaxe looked about ready to break, I thought I might need to make another one to collect more cobblestone for the furnace. Whichever goes first, I thought, hammering at the bunker's back wall. If the flames go first, I'll use the sticks. If the pickaxe snaps, then the fire died. The darkness returned. But in that final second of fading light, as the last block of stone flew from the
I was going
wall,
to say Dark
I thought I
Knight,
could see something
but
different behind it. Were black spots
Kind-
embedded
yeah.
in its face.
I've got to have a better
Away,
picture than that
I
for
heard
flying.
the crack of a successful strike. But instead of the new rock flying into my path, I got a small, hard black lump. It didn't feel familiar. Not like the sense memory of that first dirt block I smelled. This was more distant, like I'd heard of this substance without ever having seen it up close. Wasn't there a natural resource that my people had been pulling out of the ground for centuries? Hadn't it been controversial? Dirty and dangerous, but also plentiful and cheap? Not oil. Oil was a liquid. This might be coal? I asked the lump. Are you coal? I placed it in the furnace's lower slot and stood back as it flared right up. Coal or not, I said with a grin, I'll take it. By its guiding light, I rushed over to the original mining point and found an identical black-flecked rock. Picking out the nodule, I hoped
Any excuse to draw a
The
wing.
first coal fire kept burning and burning.
You know I like drawing wings, everybody
At
guys.
this rate, it would last at
Everybody
least
knows I
5
like drawing
times as
wings.
long as normal wood.
One of my
And
favourite things
all
to
on its
draw.
own without making me having to strike a
These are
match.
Minecraft. I like drawing wings.
Last thought gave me the idea to try to make another torch. Luckily, I still had those 2 sticks for making backup pickaxes. I held one up to the furnace just like I'd done earlier in the night. Hopefully, this brighter, hotter, coal-fueled blaze would be able to do what the milder wood fire couldn't. Just like before, the stick wouldn't catch. I'd run out of luck, but not ideas. Thinking about this world's rule of combining materials, I placed a stick in the center square of the crafting table with the second lump of coal above it. Here we go, I chimed, as 4 large match-shaped torches jumped into my hand. Let there be light. Feeling like the smartest person in the world, which might be true if this world had no other people, I bounced back over to the still burning furnace and exultantly held a torch to the flames, and once again, well, you get it. I growled, in a tone that would have made any zombie proud. What's missing? I knew the torch had to work eventually. This world wouldn't have let me make it otherwise, would it? I just had to find the missing part of the equation, some kind of lighter I had not yet learned to craft. Or maybe it's not that I need a new device, I said, remembering my experience with the hoe. Maybe I'm just using this one wrong. I thought, given how fire worked in my world, that maybe I hadn't given the torch time to catch. Just like with the sticks, I held it against the flames for only a few seconds. Maybe it needed a lot longer. I tried again to lean the coal-tipped cudgel against the furnace, and this time I counted a full 60 seconds. Maybe longer, I wondered, but saw that I was running out of time. The flames were dying. I couldn't have more than another minute. I'd have to use that precious light to try to dig for more coal. Reaching for my pickaxe, I decided, just on the spur of the moment, to place the torch on the ground next to the furnace. Who knows, maybe there was still a chance that the radiating heat would do the trick. Slim, I know, but still better than it sitting in my belt. The moment I set the torch down on the flickering firebox, it sparked into light. What? I sputtered,
What?
reaching for the smoking little flame. The torch went out the moment I grabbed it and then reignited when I set it back down. How? I asked, picking it up and sticking it to a wall, which caused it to spark again. How could a torch spontaneously combust when set down, then switch on and off like a flashlight? The only answer I had was sheer acceptance of the fact that just because the rules don't make sense to me doesn't mean they don't make sense. And this time I couldn't have been happier about it. Not only did these torches work anywhere I set them, not only did they extinguish the moment I put them away, not only did I
thought
not
you were
have
talking
to
about
worry about burning myself because they gave off no heat.
what are they called?
By far, their most welcome, spectacular, completely nonsensical trait was the ability to burn forever.
Smelting thingy majorgan.
You heard me. Forever. Forget physics. Forget logic. Forever. Long after the furnace went cold, I watched them continue to keep my bunker as bright as day. Now this, I thought, with nothing short of awe, is something I'm pretty sure even my own world doesn't have. It might have seemed that easy back home, just flicking on a light switch and going about your business, but flicking that switch meant a power plant somewhere was using up some kind of stored fuel. Even the renewable energy I remember hearing about needed a natural source. Sunlight, or wind, or waves. Not here, not with these. Yes, I need more coal to make more torches, but once I did, They'd burn as long as the stars. Longer. No more darkness, I sang. No more night. During my victory
Goodbye,
dance,
darkness,
I
my
hopped and
old
spun around my hideout.
friend.
No more darkness, no more night, no more
I bought
terror,
some
no more
torches
prep.
once
I stopped at the
again.
bunker's door, blinking at the daylight now shining through. I chuckled happily, realizing that my night-long battle had lasted well into the day.
Okay,
I
flying
stepped
that way,
outside
if
into
you
the
make any
walled
sense. So all
courtyard
of
of my
this is in dark,
half-demolished shack.
excluding the
Looking
head.
first at where my wooden door used to be, before I burned it in my craze, I
And
squinted
this has
up
got
at
a
the
little bit
rising
of light
sun.
coming down onto it.
I hadn't noticed until that moment that this world let me look right at the sun without damaging my
So the
eyes.
wings are covering up
I
as
couldn't
well.
help feeling like there was some sort of reason for it.
I will call them
Don't
wings,
worry, I told
but
the
because
warm
they
welcome
are
square.
basically, come
I
on.
won't leave tonight. I went back inside, punched a wall-mounted torch, and then carried it back outside. You can rest easy now, I said, holding the torch up to the sun. I'm done being afraid of the dark. Chapter 7. Take life in steps. Smiling up at the sun, my stomach brought me back down to earth. I wasn't too hungry yet, now that I'd eaten all I had left. The search for food had to be today's goal. The first seeds I planted were higher than the others. Not by much, but enough for me to try harvesting them. People ate sprouts, right? Alfalfa sprouts, Brussels sprouts. Maybe there was some new kind of... I didn't get to finish the thought. The second I touched the shoots, they turned right back into seeds. All right, I thought, putting them back into the ground. So they just need a little more time. No big deal. There still have to be more apple trees, I reasoned, picking my way up the hill. I just haven't looked hard enough. I poked my head over the top and came face to face with another giant spider. Gah! I gasped, instinctively jumping back. Out of control, I toppled down the hill, bounced off a rock, heard a sickening snap, and landed hard on the sand below. Pain shot up my leg as I hobbled back to the safety of my bunker. This isn't right, I thought, slamming the door behind me. This is daytime. Peering through the door's opening, I waited for a flash of legs and eyes. They never came. I opened the door nervously, tried to look in all directions, then took a tentative step outside. And that first step scared me out of my mind. Worse than any spider. My ankle still hurt. My hyper healing wasn't working. Of course I should have expected this now that my stomach was empty, but to actually have it happen was terrifying. Worry rose up on a bubble of realization. I was just a mere mortal now. Any major injury, any accident or monster attack could be the end. I tried putting weight on my injured leg. White-hot nails of pain jabbed through my ankle. What was I going to do now if I couldn't outrun the spider? Just one of those vicious bites would finish me. But if I stayed where I was, if I didn't eat, didn't heal, I'd end up just as dead. Grabbing my battered, nearly broken
Nobody's playing hard
pickaxe
mode.
and what little nerve I had left, I
Only
looked
one life.
carefully out onto
I
the
die
beach.
many times, but I
Nothing
keep
stirred
every
up on
single
the
piece of
hill.
inventory because I
looked
consider
for
myself a
darkness,
god.
familiar hiss. Silence. This
Yeah.
time, instead
So I
of
know I found on mine so many times I
left,
just died because
I
I
thought
found
it
loads
might
of
be
stuff
safer to
across
swim
everything,
around
and
it.
like
I
it's not
paddled
fun to
slowly
see
past
happen
the
every single
solid
stream. So
slope,
I thought,
keeping my
you know what,
eyes fixed on the
I'll
summit.
change the rules a
got
little bit. Keep
halfway around the
inventory,
hill
but every time
when
I
I
die,
spied
I'd
the
always
tips
come
of
back to this
two
spot here.
black legs,
This is
a frozen
a
place,
sleep station,
treading water as slowly
and I always return
quietly
here
as I
wherever
could.
I've died from. So if I've
The
gone off
spider
distance
crawled creepily into
and
view,
I've
its
died off
cherry
over
red
there, I
sensors locked on.
don't generally
I
mark
swam
where I am,
backward,
so I've
ready to
lost
make
where
for
that
open
was.
water.
And then I
that thing
find like a
didn't swim,
journey to find
maybe
it on
I'd
the
have
way
a
back.
chance to double back to another
If I
part
feel
of
it's
the island.
needed to do so.
I got a few strokes
I
away
got
before I realized that
wooden
the
dark
arapaho
area,
wasn't
which I want
coming
to
after me.
evolve and change
For a
and
moment,
maybe put
we
a log
remained
cabin or
frozen,
something like that because I don't want it to
silently
too much
treading,
information.
silently
Not
trading
information, too much
stares. Clearly it saw me, so why wasn't it
sort of cluttered over there. Gonna be maybe
Did
putting
the
a villager,
light
see what he
blind it,
does over
or
there as
was
well.
it something to do with the day itself? Were spiders only hostile at night? We watched each other for another few seconds before the eight-legged horror just up and disappeared. No fire, no smoke. 1 second it was there, and the next gone. I swam back to shore, my mind flooded with questions. Why had it disappeared without burning? Why hadn't it been dangerous in daylight? And why had it lasted in the daylight after all the zombies had burned? Limping back up onto the southern beach, I wondered if creepers also lasted longer than zombies, and if that was the reason I'd nearly been killed by one. I scanned the dense line of trees, making sure one of them wasn't a gnarled
right.
green. I didn't see
Oh,
any
yeah, we're
creepers,
still
though,
going to be doing
thankfully, but noticed
Red
how
Dead
dark
later
the
on.
shaded were.
We're playing that one.
The creeper been
Probably be a
sheltered
late
from
stream
the
just because
sun.
it's a bit more of an adult game.
If that was true, and if there were other monsters hiding under those leaves,
Build
then
the
that'd be
tower,
the
I think.
last place I looked for food. I limped west along the southern
As it's off in the
shoreline,
distance.
looking for shellfish and
I'm going
even
to try and
seaweed.
add the
The
distance
beach
as
was
well as
completely
the
barren.
tower now.
For the first time, I also noticed that I hadn't seen any fish, or whales, or seals, or anything aquatic besides that sinister squid. Coming around the edge of the island's southern claw, I saw that the water of the lagoon was as lifeless as the open sea.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm
Swishing
going to
across
find
its
once we
soft
fly off.
clear
I'm
bottom,
hoping we find
I
lagoons
climbed
and things
up
like
onto
that.
the northern claw, looked down at the beach, and spied a plant I hadn't seen before. It had stalks, 3 actually, that were light green and tall and growing right out of the seaside sand. Bamboo, I exclaimed, hopping painfully over. People ate bamboo, right? Wasn't it on some menus as bamboo shoots? If this was the mature version, then I could surely find a way to replant it and eat the shoots. I took one swipe at the lowest section,
What?
and unlike trees, the whole stalk came tumbling down. Collecting the 3 sections in my left hand, I saw the image of a grainy white pile in my right. Sugar, I said happily. This isn't bamboo. It's sugar cane. After so many failed attempts with the egg, I should have at least half expected that this new food didn't want to be eaten. Fine, whatever, I pouted, stuffing the pile and the 2 remaining stalks into my pack. Bad for my teeth anyway. Trying to stay positive, I wondered if the sugar might still be useful when combined with another ingredient. But what? I couldn't see anything else that remotely reminded me of food. No berry bushes, no mushrooms. There weren't even any worms and bugs, and believe me, in the state I was in, I would have gladly munched them down. I even tried nibbling a few of the red and yellow flowers growing at the edge of the woods. Not only did they not oblige, but holding them in my left hand gave me the option of turning them into useless dye.
Up here is where maybe the next set of stairs will be,
just as it
because this further down area here, I zoom in a bit more if I can, it's probably a good idea to do so. This area here is all been completed now, it's all steps, so it's all slabs and glass, and these 2 areas are completely full of glass for the glass elevator. And again, I'm going to be glass all to this and maybe another stop station so you jump off, because this area here, you jump off and either return to the sleep station or you can fly off to the other area here, which we're going to be doing closer to sort of Christmas time, because it's ice shard tree area, if you know what I mean. And this area is more woodland, but there is more ice shards over this way. So I don't know. We'll wait until winter till I think that's going to be the length of time it's going to take me to build it anyway, because this is taking me already probably close to 2 months, but I have got every source. I found diamonds in the mine. I've got a whole mining system that I fully haven't explored yet, which is already pretty there. That's so cool. Minecraft. I forgot how the world was coming back to after PewDiePie. Everybody knows what he did for Minecraft. He brought it back for the adults as well as all the people that used to play it, but forgot why they used to play it.
I said, trying to stay cool. Maybe this species just has fewer nuts.
No.
But that's all. I just gotta keep looking. Pocketing the logs,
I
placed the useless sapling on the ground and gave a startled shout as it suddenly grew up right in front of me. Chopping down that one turned out to be fruitless as well. Maybe this one, I grunted, turning to the next birch. Or maybe this one. Frustration growing into fear, I cut my way through the forest. This one I hopped, getting halfway through another tree before my axe snapped. Twisting back to my crafting table, I forgot about the injured leg. Agonizing sparks erupted from my ankle. I slumped against the half-cut tree, choking back tears, waiting for throbbing to cease. I could deal with the injury, but not with the pain. How could anybody? Feeling this way every minute of every day. How would you not go crazy? Isn't that why my world had whole shelves of different pain pills? Even if you weren't better, at least you felt that way, and right now, that's all I wanted. Make it stop, I whispered. Please, please just make it stop. Cluck, 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 came the sound of an approaching chicken. Get out of here, I barked, waving the annoying bird away. The chicken looked up at me for a second, laid another unbreakable egg, then stubbornly pecked the grass at my feet. Beat it, I growled, waving my hand in front of its face. I didn't need this right now. Didn't need to see another creature eat. Didn't need to be reminded of how delicious cooked chicken tastes. Come on now, I mean it, I commanded, shuffling over to my crafting table, and it continued to follow me, pecking away while it's clucking right in my ears. Go, I shouted, my fist clocking it in the beak. Back! Barked the bird, sprinting away in a flash of red. I didn't mean it, I started, guilt quickly replacing anger. Moo, came a friendly sound to my right. I looked over at the familiar eyes of the cow. In those eyes, in that serene face, I found the centering I needed. I know, I sighed.
I guess my axe.
Moo, it agreed. I gotta remember, I continued, that no one's ever died of a twisted ankle, and if the sprouts
you can
grow
eat
into
beef
food,
raw and
then
it doesn't
I'll
matter.
take care of that.
You
Again,
can in
the
real
cow
life.
gave
I
an
don't know if you
agreeable
can
moo.
in
I could feel myself calming
Minecraft. I
down,
hope you
my
can.
breathing returning to normal. Here I am, acting like that first day when, well,
Now I
look at
did
all the
layer
progress
this,
I've made since then.
but I
gotta
can't see
remember
where
that
I've done it.
progress and that vow I made to you the day I got here. Moo, said the cow, which prompted a quick correction. Okay, maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was your friend I was talking to, the one who got killed by the creeper. And I'm sorry about the steak thing, by the way, but, I was hungry and it was already dead, and, well, anyway, back to the vow. I started pacing again, just like I had the first day with the cow, albeit with a pronounced shuffle. I told myself that I had to figure out all the rules of this world, but I get now that I've got to go
It's like
further.
saying you're
I've gotta figure out
you're
rules
getting close
for
to the
myself.
top, and then chill,
Moo?
go straight up.
Asked my black and white friend. No, I don't just mean the lessons I've been learning, I said, or having a grand strategy like we talked about. I need a methodical way to achieve that strategy, a detailed discipline of specific steps for each task. I stopped and turned on my good heel. I know that's a lot of big words, but what they
Dog
boil
may
down
bark in a
to
moment,
is that
guys,
I need
or
to
whimper.
not know just what I have to do, but also how I'm going to do
Hoping
it.
nobody knocks on the door.
Moo, chimed the cow, finally getting what I was saying. Isn't that what gets people through life back in my world? I asked. They get up every day and already know how they're going to face that day. That's what I need. As the cow took a quick grass break, I kept pondering. And I need to start with our strategy. Cover the basics, right? Food, shelter, safety. So I got shelter. And food, well, I just figured out that there's nothing left to eat on this island other than the sprouts, which need time to grow. But safety? I held up my wounded foot. The whole reason I'm all panicked about food is because I can't hyper heal anymore. But I wouldn't need to if I knew more about the creatures that can hurt me. Moo, said the cow, which I took for, okay, I'm with you, but what does that have to do with your new method? I'm getting to that, I said. If I can study the creatures from a safe place and figure out where they come from, how they hunt, and how long they last when the sun comes up, I'll keep out of trouble long enough to get a handle on food. At that moment, the rain stopped. I looked up at the sun, then down at the hill, then back over to the cow. I've discovered how to make glass, so what if I built another room on this side of the hill to safely study the creatures, and that, I held up a triumphant fist, is where the method, or the way, comes into play. Said the white sheep, walking over to me. Will you explain it to him? I asked the cow, limping back toward the hill behind me. I could hear the sheep's confused baa and the cow's exasperated moo. Take it in steps, I shouted over my shoulder. I've got to take life in steps. I shouted over my shoulder. I've got to take life in steps. Chapter 8. The Way. I was thinking of crafting items in this world, how the process could be mental as well as physical. By the time I had swum back to the beach, 3 clear steps had crystallized. Plan. What do I want to do, right down to the smallest detail. Prepare. What do I need? Tools and materials in order to make my plan work. And prioritize. What do I need to do first in order to do everything else? This way guided my process in the creation of something I would soon dub my observation room. In my initial plan, I imagined a small chamber at the base of the hill's western slope, with an outer wall of glass blocks. In order to create this room, I would need to prepare the following: glass blocks, torches, and extra tools. Priority one was tools. Digging through the entire hill would take one, maybe two extra pickaxes, which would take cobblestone and wood, which I had plenty of. Now that I was prepared with all the tools and materials I needed, I had a mental plan of what I needed to build, and I got right to work, picking at the back wall of my bunker. And first, things were going well. I almost forgot my empty stomach and my aching ankle until the deepening tunnel got darker. How big is this hill? I thought, sticking a flickering torch to the wall. What if I run out of torches? If that happens, I said aloud, then I'll just go digging for more coal and finish the observation room later. It felt good for once to have an answer instead of just worrying questions, to act instead of just react. Maybe this was really the way. Turns out I didn't need more torches just yet. It wasn't long before I broke through onto the outer side and saw that the sun was dipping below the horizon. "See," I shouted over to the cow and sheep. "The way is working." "Ah," said the white sheep, reminding me that in less than a minute I'd be caught out in the open in the darkness. "Right," I said, placing my glass blocks. Should have factored in the sunset, I thought angrily. And the size of the hill. Stupid planning, stupid mistakes. The cow must have known what I was thinking because it gave me an encouraging moo. "Good point," I called back. "This is my first time practicing the 3 Ps, which, now that I say it, means I should add a fourth. Practice." As the sun sank and the stars rose, I hollowed out a 3x3x3 chamber behind my new clear wall. All that was left to do was fix my last comforting torch to the wall. "Not bad," I said proudly, wishing this world would let me rest my hands on my hips. I turned back to the giant window, staring out at the twilight. So far, nothing moved except the animals. "Well, at least I'm learning that you never stop eating," I told them. "If only the monsters would show up." "Add another P," moved the cow. "Patience." "Can't argue with that," I said, and settled down for a long wait. The first thing I learned was that the monsters didn't appear until the sky was completely dark. The next thing was that they literally appeared. They didn't crawl out of the ocean or the ground like I initially thought. One second they weren't there, and the next, pling. Okay, maybe I added the pling for dramatic effect, but you get it, right? They just materialized, and they didn't do it one at a time. They came in mobs, zombies and spiders, and then even those sneaky combustible creepers. I noticed that they didn't care about any of the animals, even when one of the sheep walked right in front of a zombie. The zombie saw me, though, and made a beeline across the meadow. Instinctively, I backed away into the tunnel. "Gotta build a door for this," I thought, ready to slam down a couple of cobblestones in the entrance. The undead brute skulked slowly from one end of the window to the other, never taking its black eyes off me. Feeling a little emboldened by its passivity, I took a step forward, then another, then hobbled right up to the glass. "Well," I asked, "you gonna attack or what?" Fittingly, I got a less than eloquent grrr. "I know you can see me, and your buddy kept trying to break down my door, so what's the difference now?" "Grrr," it growled grumpily, content to trade looks instead of blows. "Well, at least I can't smell you," I sneered, but then added, "Can you smell me?" The ghoul moaned, standing like a statue of rotten meat. "Is that it?" I asked, pressing my face to the glass. "Is it 'cause you can't smell me?" I had no way to test this theory, other than breaking a hole in the glass, which I was not willing to do, so I chalked it up once again to the rules making sense, just not to me. Whatever the rule was, smell or maybe sound, or even some other sixth sense I wasn't aware of, all the other mobs seemed to obey it too. Several of the spiders came skittering toward me, their eyes sending chills down my spine. One of the arthropods just sat there looking at me, while another scuffled right over to my window and up the hill. Like the zombie, neither seemed to have any interest in attacking. Next came one of those silently gliding creepers, and this time I backed way up into the tunnel. If I was wrong about my sense theory, And if that living landmine decided to detonate next to the glass, I was toast. I even placed one block in the tunnel's entrance, and was ready to plant a second if I saw the creeper starting to vibrate. Fortunately, block in hand, I watched the monster glide away. My sigh of relief, however, was cut short the moment I saw another creature emerge from the woods. Like the zombie, this one was humanoid. However, unlike the putrid, stumbling flesh bags, this thing had no flesh on its bones. In fact, it was only bones. It was a human skeleton, and the clickety-clack sound it made matched what I'd heard the first night in the woods. Was it one of you guys that shot that arrow? I whispered. I got my answer a second later when I noticed that the skeleton
reference.
held
You're
something
old,
in its hand,
like me.
a curved stick, or a collection of sticks, tied together on either end by a taut string. A bow. Mystery solved. Just then, another skeleton clacked into the view, and for a second, I worried about the two of them taking pot shots at my window. Worry vanished when, to my astonishment, the two bone beasts looked at each other, raised their bows, and began shooting. With each impact, the wounded skeleton was knocked back, flashing red, then returned fire. Oh, I so gotta get one of those bows, I said, giddy with the idea of ranged weapons. Please just kill each other so I can grab one in the morning. And then, as a teasing answer to my prayers, the skeleton battle was over. The new challenger had beaten his rival, shooting him into a cloud of smoke. I saw a bow hovering where the loser had vanished. Patience, I reminded myself, watching helplessly as the bow hovered just a few dozen blocks away from me. Glancing down the tunnel, I thought I saw the sky lightening through my door. Won't be long now, I said, looking back at the prize. And then, to my utter anguish, the weapon blinked out of existence. No, I whined, realizing that dropped objects in this world apparently have a lifespan. I did pick up something that morning, though. Vital proof that my shade theory was correct. Watching two zombies, one in the meadow and the other in the woods, I saw the exposed one burst into flames, while the other remained safe. While this was happening, I thought I heard a rapid clicking above my head. Was a skeleton running or dying somewhere uphill? Maybe I'd get lucky and snag a bow after all. I waited until the click-clacking ceased, then limped back to the tunnel. I grunted and groaned with every smarting step up the cliff wall. In a replay of the previous morning, I got to the summit and into another staring contest with a spider. Okay, I said to the daytime nightmare. If I'm right, then daylight makes you passive, and I'd really like to be right now. I could see something hovering behind its bulbous body. A bow? Good spider, I said, taking a cautious step toward it. Good, giant, carnivorous mutant. It stayed still. I took another. It looked away. I crept right past the arachnid and right over to the prize I'd literally risked life and limb for. Not a bow, but the next best thing. The shaft was wood, oak or birch I couldn't tell, and the sharp triangular tip looked a lot like flint. The end was made of a feather, which I guessed helped it to fly straight. So this is an arrow, I thought. Now if only I can get the thing to shoot it with. Moo, came a call from down in the meadow. Yeah, I got it, I called back, holding up the arrow triumphantly. But I also got reams of intel on those creatures of the night. Mentally, I ran through everything I learned from just one observation. How shade worked, how skeletons attacked each other, how nothing attacked me as long as I was safe behind glass. And that last observation brought up a lingering question. Why did they stay away? Was it the absence of smell or the light? Moo, replied the cow, going back to its breakfast of green squares. Is it the light? I pressed. It makes more sense than smell, right? I mean, if sunlight kills monsters, or I glanced sideways just in time to see the spider banishes them, whatever you want to call it, then does a less powerful light
Murderize is what I say.
Keep them away?
You get
murderized over its black and white butt. I know, I said. Only one way to find out.
Me.
Hiking down the easier but still painful western slope, I continued to talk over my next project with the cow. What if, I began, I set some torches outside near my observation bubble so I can see if they work? Planning. But I continued, in order to do that, I need to make more torches, and to do that, I need to get more coal. Preparing. Which means the first thing I need to do is to make sure I have enough pickaxes and maybe a shovel or two in case I hit dirt or sand. Prioritizing. Which I already know how to do. Practice. Moo, warned the cow, reminding me of the need for, I know, I griped, eager to start out my new adventure, patience. It turned out that patience was really what I needed because I had no experience with mining. Isn't that what it's technically called? Mining? Digging down into the earth for mineral resources. Well, whatever it's called, I didn't know how to do it. For starters, as I cut a rough diagonal staircase down through solid rock, I realized that I left light out of my planning. This meant I had to hop back up to the stairs, which killed my ankle, to grab the torch from my bunker and to place it and replace it on the stone wall with every few blocks I dug.
Replace it
It was slow
with
going and
something
at one point
new.
almost fatal. Digging down a few dozen blocks, I came to a hard tan stone directly in front of me. Because the stone looked like sand, I dubbed it sandstone, and when I dug it out, an actual block of sand fell down to replace it. I got out my shovel and removed the new sand block. Then the next sand block fell into place, and then the third that fell in its place, and then backed up as a stream of deep blue water rushed in. I've broken through to sea, I thought, shaking my head at the blunder. I hadn't thought about the fact that the island was essentially an underwater mountain, and digging at an angle would eventually find me out in the ocean. At least this world's water is weird, I thought, remembering how the blast crater had never filled up. In my world, breaking into the sea would have flooded my entire tunnel, at worst drowning me and at best destroying my work. I got that going for me, I said, turning around and digging in the opposite direction. I don't have to
Adult
worry
time.
about drowning. And then
Oh
looking
man,
up at
this
the
is
solid
such
block
2
above
hours
me,
we're
I
hitting
said,
that now.
"Or cave-ins." I shouldn't have
So
said
we
that
get for
out
a
loud.
12-hour stream,
Yes,
me drawing
I
this
thought
picture.
I knew that sand was the only substance that didn't stick,
No.
and that if I saw another
That's
sandstone
fine.
block, I'd be well warned.
Do you want me
And
to do
yes,
a 12-hour
I know
draw
that
on
superstition
one
and tempting
A3
fate are
piece of
silly,
paper? Let me know in the
primitive,
comment
and wrong.
section.
Still, I shouldn't have said it out loud, because the next moment I knocked away a stone above my head and looked up just in time to see the blocks above it come crashing down. The world went dark. I choked and gasped. I was drowning, not in water, but in this hard, gritty stuff that scratched and crackles as I tried to struggle free. My hand burst into open air,
My
clawing
hand.
the smooth stone.
My hand
Crawling past
burst
swimming, I
into
wriggled out and suffocated
flames.
in track. I stood panting on the last step of my tunnel, feeling like an elephant had sat on my chest. Bruised ribs, scraped skin, throat scratching like it was made of sandpaper. Looking up, I saw why. I just discovered this world's other non-stick substance, a material halfway between sand and rock. Something I'd barely noticed in my world, maybe on someone's driveway, had almost accomplished what zombies and giant spiders and creeping explosives had failed to do. Gravel I hacked, feeling the same wounds that I now have to live with for who knows how long. Getting out my shovel, I tried to clear the column away, and just like the sand, it kept filling in. Clearing the fourth cube, however, got me a little added bonus, another sharp flake of flint. Peering up into the hole above my head, I saw a huge deposit of gravel, which might hold more flint flakes if I ever needed them. For now, I said softly, fearing my own voice might cause another cave-in, I think I'll stay well away from you. Changing the planning section of my way, I decided to modify my mining technique. Instead of going diagonally, I tried digging in a spiral. 2 blocks down, turn right. 2 blocks down, turn right. And so on. That way, I not only avoided the ocean, but also knew exactly what was above my head. I might have been safer, but after being buried alive, I sure didn't feel it. I don't think I was claustrophobic at the point, but digging through these narrow confines of rock, with barely enough room above my head and only one torch that I had to keep hopping painfully back up my mine shaft staircase to get, well, let's just say it wasn't my most pleasant experience. At one point, when I probably should have been remembering the cow's warning about
Well.
patience, I started to seriously consider giving up the whole operation. I began looking behind me more often, picturing the long, punishing climb back up. Was all of this worth it? Was my stupid experiment with torchlight and monsters just that? Heck, the whole point was to work on making myself safer, and I'd almost gotten myself killed. Maybe I should just forget. A block of stone fell away from me to reveal flecks of black coal. Finally, I breathed in a choking groan. About time you guys showed up. Picking out the precious black lumps, I added, and there's so many of you, too. I counted at least a dozen of them, which meant 48 torches if I used all of them at once. I can light a tree for my experiment, I thought happily, and my cave and the observation room and the tunnel, and make them all bright as I stopped and stared at the rock behind the coal. It was speckled but orange, and seemed to reflect the torchlight. Some kind of metal, I wondered. Copper? Brass? Was brass a naturally occurring ore, or was it a mixture of other elements? I still don't know the answer to that one. I picked out the rock, and the two identical ones behind it, and unlike the coal, whatever was embedded in them stayed put. I think I know how to get you out, I said, hoofing it back up to the bunker and wincing with each painful step. Making torches as I went, I made sure to place them far enough apart to light my entire way to the surface. You might say I was wasting the very material I'd come for, but if these 3 new cubes turned out to be what I thought they were, then I'd be going down there soon. I slid the 3 metal flecked blocks into the furnace, placed a lump of coal beneath them, and watched as the fire blazed up. What came out wasn't copper or brass, but something much more valuable. What came out was nothing less than the metal that had literally built the modern world. What came out was iron. Look, I shouted through my observation bubble to the animals. Picking out a doorway next to my window, I hobbled across the meadow to show them the 3 shining bars. Look what's right under our feet. Moo, said the cow, with a chorus of baas from the 2 sheep, and even a few distant cluck cluck clucks from the chickens. Yes, grass, ha ha, I said, but underneath that grass, underneath that dirt, stone, sand, and gravel, is something that's going to change everything around here. I raised the bars like an Olympic medal. 'Cause, okay, bad news. So, school just started up again for me, so I can't do as many videos as I'd like and as you guys would like. So, oh well. But I do have something cool planned for hopefully very soon. It's not the movie. But I think you guys. I think maybe not you guys, but I think someone will like it. Someone will, hopefully. Anyway, chapter 9. Friends keep you sane. Good night. I boasted to the watching cow. Not only do I have iron to work with, but I held up a handful of torches. I'm also going to prove that fire keeps the bad guys away. After setting up 12 torches on the tree closest to the meadow, I waited behind my glass wall for the sun to set, the moon to rise, and for the monsters to make their appearance. And when they did, they walked right through my barrier of torchlight. Anger rising, temples throbbing, I uttered a very loud, very angry, very inappropriate word. Ugh, gloated the first zombie who slouched up to my window. You win this one, I said, holding up the 3 iron bars, but I'm just getting started. Now, if you're already a veteran of this world, then you know what kind of weapon can be made with iron, the same one you can also make with stone or just wood, and the same one I couldn't imagine making at the time. I wasn't thinking clearly, okay? There were a lot of reasons for this. Frustration, hunger, and one that I'll go into later because I wasn't aware of it yet. For now, just know that I wasn't using my noggin the way I should have, and therefore all I could conceive of was an iron version of my axe. Which I didn't craft, by the way, because it would have taken up the only 3 precious iron ingots I had. Conserve your resources, I thought. Figure out what you could make, then only make what you need. As the night wore on, and one mob after another marched mockingly past my harmless torch tree, I stood at a crafting table in front of my glass wall, watching one ghostly item option after another pass me by. The only two worth mentioning ended up becoming critical to my survival, even though I didn't know it at the time. The first one, which would have cost me two iron ingots, looked like a pair of scissors, but with the handles connected instead of crossed. The technical term is shears. The other one, which would have cost me all three, was nothing more than an iron bucket. That's it, I growled with exasperation. A bucket and shears? That's the best I can do with iron? The night had been a total washout. First the torches, now my supposed iron age. And I had such high hopes, I said, sighing in a moment of deep self-pity. I glanced up from the crafting table and saw a zombie in the meadow burst into flames. The sun's first rays were just poking over Disappointment Hill on what I thought of as Disappointed Morning. That's right, I shouted through the glass, burn! At least my enemies wouldn't live long enough to celebrate my night of failure. Burn, 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 I chanted, and smelled a new offensive odor. My own breath. I hadn't much about bodily functions in this story so far because so far I hadn't had any. No poop, no pee, none of the gross but necessary stuff I used to do back home. I hadn't even let off that musical gas that's got so many creative nicknames, which I didn't miss, by the way, given that I lived in a stuffy dugout with no ventilation. But now, for some reason, I suddenly had the sour stink of morning breath, although I suspected it didn't have much to do with the morning. My headache from last night hadn't gone away either. If anything, it had gotten worse. Chills were also rippling across my back, even though the room temperature hadn't changed. I realized how weak and listless I felt. Not tired, just lead bones and concrete muscles. At the same time, my heart knocked wildly around my chest. Am I starving? I asked, smelling my own breath blow back at me from the window. Is this how it feels? Of course it was, and I knew it. I lived with hunger since I got to this world, but in my heart of hearts, I never really believed it would kill me. Accidents and monsters, immediate in-your-face hazards, were real, but slowly wasting away. I don't think I'd ever been close to that kind of danger in my old life. Lethal hunger was for other people. Old people reminiscing about wars and depressions, or far off, nameless strangers begging for aid on TV. Now I understood them. My body, like a machine, had run out of fuel, and it was breaking down. How long did I have before that machine broke entirely? Moo, came a distant call from across the meadow, reminding me of what I had to do. The garden, I exclaimed, waiting peacefully at the cow. Today's the day, I told myself, with each limping step. The shoots have to be ripe. And they were. At least that's what I hoped. One of the cultivated squares had grown into tall, golden heaping stalks, heavy with large, black, mini-cubed kernels of wheat? Barley? Rye? What? Wheat, I thought, and reached out for the beckoning square. I not only came up with a collection of seeds, which I promptly replanted, but also a thick bucket of grain. Thick bushel of grain. Lifting the bushel, my hand froze bare inches from my mouth. It's edible, I said, refusing to consider that the whole project was a blind alley. I just need to do something with it. Hobbling back to my bunker, I kept uttering, "Don't give up." And when the furnace refused to cook the grain, I added, "Panic drowns thought." Just gotta combine it with something, I muttered, throwing the bushel and anything else I could find onto the crafting table. That's it. Yeah, combine. That's what you do here. Combine stuff. And that's what I tried to do for half the day. Countless combinations of the egg, sugar, even flowers, wood, and dirt. I must have looked crazy, babbling to myself through one failed experiment after another. By the several dozenth dud, I looked up and shouted, "More!" That had to be the answer. One bushel wasn't enough. Just like multiple wood blocks or cobblestone, I needed more wheat. Limping back outside, praying that the morning had given one more square a chance to ripen, I saw that the garden was still green. I began to swear, then noticed something that had completely slipped by me before. The square I'd harvested hadn't been the first one I'd planted, but rather the closest to the ocean. Water, I cried, furious at my own stupidity. Plants needed to grow. And yes, if I'd been in my right mind, I probably would have done what you're thinking of right now. I would have just dug a trench from the water's edge to let it run right past the rest of my crops. But I didn't. Instead, my scared, starving, screwed up brain decided the worst of all possible plans. The bucket, I rasped, remembering what I could have crafted the night before. Now, using the bedside table, I whipped out the 3 iron ingots onto a metal pail. A second later, I
Happy
scooped
little
up a full
trees.
brimming load of
Grab a
water,
few happy
and a
little
second after that,
trees.
I poured it right onto the row of plants. No, I screamed, as the stationary liquid cube washed not only the seeds, but all of my work, energy, and time.
Okay, so that's where we've gotten so far.
Snatching the hovering green pebbles right from the shallow sandy ledge. Right back where I started, I whispered, at the seeds. Then, in a mounting torrent of rage, erupted, right back where I started. Blinded by fury, I ran across the beach, punching anything in front of me, sand, dirt, even the solid stone wall of the cliff, all to the roaring chorus of right back where I started. And on that last word, I hurled the bucket into
That's what I feel as soon as I hit
seemed
this
to suck
boy.
all the
Again,
anger
when I come
right out
back
of me,
here, I'm either
replacing
going
it
to
with
save
the
it
clarity
or
of
I'm dead.
consequences. I watched in horror as my brand new,
The rest
extremely
station.
rare, and possibly useful pail sailed up and out into the blue. Oh no, I whispered, plunging back into the cold depths. Unlike the seeds, I had thrown the bucket much farther out. I tried swimming underwater, looking in its general direction and seeing nothing but inky midnight. I splashed to the surface, inhaled deeply, then crash dived like a submarine. There it was, in the purple haze of the subsurface sunlight. I could just make out a small object hovering on a narrow ledge of gravel. Just one block over and it would have been lost forever. I spluttered back up onto the surface, not only with the bucket, but with the knowledge that tantrums never help. Trying to remain calm and digest this new lesson, the only thing I could digest, I began replanting my seeds. I scooped up the cube of water and was about to pour it back into the sea when I suddenly had the idea of drinking it. True, I'd never been thirsty, and true water alone wouldn't starve off malnutrition, but at least a full belly would make me feel a little better. Like with the wheat and so much else before it, my hand and mouth practiced passive resistance. I didn't get upset though, and not just because I was hanging on to sanity with my square fingernails. The idea of drinking had set off another thin, wobbly, but possibly life-saving train of thought. Can I drink anything else? I asked the empty bucket, and with impeccable timing I heard a moo. Milk. Shaking my head, I limped back to the observation bubble. How could I forget this? I asked the blotchy, grazing animal on the other side of the glass. Even if I didn't drink milk at home, even if I was lactose intolerant, I still should have remembered where milk came from. The cow snorted, probably saying, "It took you long enough." I walked outside and circled the animal a few times. How do you... I began awkwardly. I mean, what's the right way to... Clearly, I'd never milked a cow or even seen it done in my world. However, a quick terse moo reminded me that the complexity of tasks in that other world didn't apply here. Right, I said, holding the bucket out to her pinkish udder. I'll be as gentle as I started to explain, but before the thought was finished, the pail filled with creamy, frothy liquid. Thank you, I said, smelling the rich, familiar scent. I drank long and deep, savoring every drop. I waited for my stomach to fill, my wounds to heal, my worries to melt into a river of dairy bliss. None of that happened. I didn't even feel the liquid in my belly. I know, I said nervously, milking another pail and hobbling back to my observation room. I just need to keep going. Feeling the demons rise, the panic and frustration and explosive, raging hopelessness I leapt into combining this new ingredient with every other edible mixture I could think of. Milk and egg, milk and wheat, milk and egg and wheat, milk, egg, wheat, sugar, this and that, back and forth. My last chance, I babbled incessantly. Last chance, last chance. That chance evaporated as every possible combination failed. It doesn't, I stammered, staring at what should have been all different kinds of food. It doesn't make sense. Past lessons came flooding back about things not having to make sense to me to make sense, and how I shouldn't assume anything that I couldn't prove. And that's when I remembered the proof of having another kind of food, one I'd already eaten and which was standing right in front of me. My brain switched off. It wasn't a tantrum, not this time. I wasn't hot-tempered now, but rather very, very cold. I looked up from the crafting table into the meadow, out at the cow which had turned its back to me. My mouth was filled with spit, my stomach with digestive juices. My body knew what it wanted. Images of a steak filled my brain as the axe handle filled my head. I slouched slowly across the grass, breathing heavily in a cloud of my own foul breath. The cow didn't move, munching on its last meal, ignorant of my approach. I shuffled closer. It took no notice. Just a few more steps, just a few more seconds, and it would all be over. The cow fed peacefully. I raised the axe. Meat, food, life. The cow turned and our eyes met. Moo. I dropped the axe and staggered back. I'm sorry, my friend, I told the gentle beast, because you are my friend, even though I don't deserve you. Soft, heaving sobs cut into every word. You're all I have. And only then did I realize how truly lonely I was. I might not have remembered my life from the other world, and the other people I shared that life with, but I knew they had to exist. Friends, family, why else would my soul feel as empty as my stomach? Why else had I talked to myself, materials, monsters, even the sun up above? And sure, I ate animals all the time in my world, but this was different because this cow was all I had. It felt silly to me then, but we'd been through a lot together, and would go through more to come. I was trying to fight the isolation that was as deadly to my mind as starvation was to my body. Survival, I now understood, meant taking care of them both. That's why I'd always felt so comforted talking to the animals, to everything. No, they couldn't talk back, but they could feel, they could hurt, and they wanted to live just as much as I did. And sharing those basic needs meant I would never be alone. Friends keep you sane, I said, picking up the axe at my feet. And if I'd used this, I would have ended up just like a zombie, alone. Moo, said the cow, trying to lighten the mood. You're right, I chuckled. I guess I kinda look halfway there already. With my unhealed bruises, my limping stride, and my breath smelling like a garbage pile, I could see that my four-legged pal had a point. But was she just making a joke, or trying to get me to see something I'd missed? Putting the axe in my belt, my eyes fell to the pouch next to it. In the one containing the stacked, stinking piles of collected zombie flesh. You know something, Moo? I said, abruptly naming the cow. There is one potential food source I still haven't tried. Moo, agreed the pardoned cow. Just looking at the chunks of meat made me queasy. Hopefully, I said, crafting his table, then a furnace, I won't have a repeat of the raw chicken. The spoiled flesh wouldn't cook. The furnace didn't want it any more than I did. Moo, insisted the cow, and I held the hunk of meat to my nose. What if it's worse than the chicken? Maybe I should wait and moo. All right, I snapped, and popped the vile piece of disgusting flesh into my mouth. I chewed and gagged and swallowed and gagged a whole lot more. I didn't get sick like with the chicken, but I almost wished I had. What happened to me was something new, something terrible, and something unique to this world. Call it ravenousness or hyper hunger, but I suddenly wanted to eat the entire world. It felt as if my stomach was trying to consume itself, as if every cell was a miniature mouth, snapping and screaming for food. At the same time, my mouth felt like I just licked the sludge off the bottom of a summertime dumpster. Ah, I gasped, in what must have been a spot-on zombie impression. I coughed, I retched, I ran in frantic circles, looking for anything to chase away the taste. I pressed my face to a tree, trying to actually lick the bark. I jumped into the lagoon, trying to force a drop of water between my lips. Moo! Moo was trying to throw my taste buds a lifeline. Milk! I still had the second helping from my failed experiments. I grabbed the bucket and shoved like there was no tomorrow. And then suddenly I was fine. Hyper hunger gone. Thanks, I gasped to Moo, climbing out of the lagoon and noticing that my ankle suddenly felt a bit better. I tried a few more steps, and while not entirely healed, the sharp pain had faded to a dull ache. I took a deep breath, and lo and behold, my bruised ribs felt better. This? I asked Moo, holding up another chunk of gourmet ghoul. This is the answer? Moo gave me an impatient snort, as if to say, don't think about it, just do it. Right, I said, milking her again and holding the bucket ready. It was already worse the second time because now I knew what was coming. Oi, I winced and bit into the decaying grossosity. I chewed, gulped, and chased with the second pail. This time the hunger barely lasted a second, and when it was gone, my wounds were almost healed. Oh, that's better, I breathed, feeling a little of my strength return. This doesn't make me a cannibal, right? I asked, imagining the repulsive substance in my stomach. I mean, if zombies just spawn as is, then they couldn't have ever been human, right? Moo, said my buddy, reminding me to just be grateful. Yeah, I know, I admitted. At least I won't have to worry about starving. In fact, I think there's a saying where I come from. Don't live to eat, just eat to live. I looked up at the setting sun, thinking of tonight's zombies in a whole new way. Thank you, I told Moo, milking her for another pail. Not just for this, but for, everything, even after what I almost did to you. And then my generous, nurturing, unbelievably awesome pal gave me the third and final gift of friendship that day. Moo, she said, which I knew meant I forgive. Chapter 10. Nothing clears the mind like sleep. This night my stomach growled along with the undead vermin. Watching them spawn through the safety of my observation bubble, I actually found myself staring hungrily at the roving mobs, impatiently waiting for the dawn to turn them into the bits of disgusting mush. Now I'm a scavenger, I thought, clocking every zombie's spawn point. Isn't that what they call someone that survives on dead meat? A vulture or hyena or a maggot? That's me. I thought I remember hearing somewhere that early humans had started out that way, chasing off other scavengers to feed on the picked-over carcasses of animals. Maybe it was true, or maybe I was just trying to make myself feel better. At least it was easier to track the ghouls by the glow of my torchlit tree. Maybe it wasn't a total waste after all, I thought, not realizing how right I was. As the night wore on, I noticed that no zombies, or any mobs for that matter, spawned anywhere near the circle of light. They materialized elsewhere, in the forest, the meadow, by the lagoon, even on the beaches from what little coastline I could see, but never close to the luminous tree. Can mobs only spawn in darkness, I asked myself, but got an unexpected answer from the back bunker door. Rotted fists were knocking loudly, accompanied by hostile groans. Delivery, I called, walking back down the tunnel and over to the beachside exit. Sure enough, a zombie was pounding on the thin wooden barrier. You just stay there, I said, marveling at how different this moment was from the first time a ghoul had tried to break in. This'll be no different than ordering pizza. I shouldn't have said that last word because it reminded me of what real food tastes like. Pizza, chicken. I don't know what my particular preferences were back home, but at that moment they all sounded good. Lost in culinary memories, salivating at every dish my species had to offer, I heard the standard high-pitched barks of a burning zombie. Dawn had broken, and the undead assailant was now seconds from death. If that ain't ironic, I told the smoldering assailant, I don't know what.
It's going to be interesting how to draw
a few
one in
seconds
there.
Later, I was gagging down my decomposing breakfast. Be grateful for what you have, I reminded myself through gulps of blessed milk. And I had a lot to be grateful for, because by the last swallow, I found my body completely healed. My bruises were gone, my headache faded, and my ankle took its full weight without any complaint. Even my breath smelled sweet and normal again, which was another irony if you think about the putrefaction it had just been filled with. Be grateful, I said, trying and failing to forget memories of human cuisine. Cheese enchiladas, french fries and ketchup, blueberry pancakes with maple syrup and a side of bacon. I gotta get some real food, I said, walking over to the little garden. No luck there. The new seedlings were barely a mini cube higher than they'd been the day before. Ugh, I groaned, wincing at the memory of yesterday's disaster. Where would I be if I hadn't bungled it so badly? Would breakfast have been a bowl of wheat-based cereal instead of a mouthful of zombios? Don't dwell on your mistakes, I said, forcing myself back to the present, and learn from them. And learn from them I did, because studying the garden showed me that the seeds planted right next to the sea were growing faster than the others. I was right, I thought excitedly. I was right about water, just not about how to use it. Don't put water on the seeds, I said, wishing I could smack my head. Bring it next to them. It was so simple, so easy. Why hadn't I thought of it before? Whipping out my shovel, I dug a trench alongside the seeds. Water came flowing in, but in the bizarre physics of this world, didn't fill all the way up. I got out my bucket, scooped up a cube of seawater, and dumped it on the back of the ditch, and learned yet another quirky world rule. If you have 2 cubes of water and you put them 3 blocks apart, the space in between them becomes an entirely new cube of water, and not just temporarily. You can take out that new cube, and the next one after it, and the next one after that, until you've got enough to make a lake. Just 2 starter cubes can probably make a whole ocean. The point is, in this world, water makes water. Why am I obsessing over the little, small, odd, boring little factoids? Because later on in this story, that little factoid will end up saving my life. But back to the here and now. Watching the trench fill to the top, I remembered a tale about an impatient amphibian trying his hand at gardening. In the spirit of that tale, I bellowed, "Seeds start growing." Chuckling at my own wit, or rather quoting somebody else's, I still knew that I had to wait a bit to try combining wheat with wheat. And that was assuming again that this was wheat. Patience, I told myself, trying not to think about how many more meals of zombie flesh it would take to choke down. Patience. Something splashed off to my right. I looked up and saw a squid. You know, I called out to the 8-armed sea monster, there's another thing on this island, or rather, swimming next to it, that I haven't tried yet. I was feeling pretty confident by this point. I had my strength, and more important, my hyper healing back. I was jonesing for some new challenges, especially when the reward might be a decent tasting meal. Grabbing my axe, I shouted, "Calamari time," and jumped into the water. Sensing what was coming, the squid began to jet away. "Yeah, that's right," I called after it. "I used to be afraid of you." My octoprey stopped just below the surface, allowing me to take a swing. I stopped to raise my axe and promptly sank. Silently laughing, yes, I'm sure it was laughing, my seafood lunch moved away. "Come back," I called, swimming after it again. "Get back here and get in my furnace." I followed the squid around the southern shore of the island, trying to swim and swing at the same time. In case you haven't realized yet, it can't be done. Just like this world wouldn't let me rub my head while patting my stomach, it wouldn't let me do anything while swimming except swim. I finally came to this realization after about 5 tragically comical minutes, which ended with the squid jetting into the deep. "Don't say it," I said, floundering ashore and into the judgmental gaze of Moo. "I know, I gotta make another boat," which I did. I then used that boat to go after a whole group of squid, hacking at the water and getting myself all twisted around. I can't blame the rules of the world this time. Technically, I guess it's doable. For all I know, you've done it yourself. But me? I'm just glad nobody was there to see how ridiculous I looked. Well, almost nobody. "Moo," called my cow critic from the beach. "Yeah, well, why don't you come out here and try it?" I called back, realizing a second later that she'd actually been trying to warn me. Looking up, I saw that not only was I getting farther and farther out to sea, but night was barely minutes away. Tomorrow I promised to move.
Sorry, guys, the music just stopped. But while I'm doing that, take a look at what we're trying to do, trying to build, what we're trying to make here, because I think I've finished this picture for Inktober today, which is the word prompt was build. And like I said, I've been building my Tower of Flight over here on Minecraft. That is on Mixer. You are getting updates over on here on YouTube. There should be a few uploaded already for today, and there should be there will be more coming to you every Monday and Tuesday over on mixer.com live, and then uploaded later throughout the weeks coming, because you're almost caught up for what happened over the summertime with me and my boy. So yeah, we let's get this a bit bigger. You are getting a lot of glare there. I will send a picture to this over to my Instagram as well, as I always do. This is my prompt image, and the prompt was build. And I thought, as we're using ink, I've used nothing but this one pen here. It is the Uniball. This pen, which I told you at the very beginning. The Uniball, where we go, Rollerball, high quality medium. If you want to go and check those out for yourself. I got them in my local supermarket, so go and check them out. I did have some thinner pens and fatter pens. I might go and dig those out and see what the difference is between just using one pen and other pens throughout Inktober as well, guys. So don't forget to keep tuning in and let me know what you think by hitting that subscribe button and leaving a like. But first, I'm going to give you a zoom in of what we have been drawing today. Like I said, there's the top area that you could saw. That was the, as I call it, the sleep station. We've got vines and stuff in the background, and a ender chest, I believe it is, on that side. That is so when I'm away from areas, I can find and get everything I need if I've left it in the chest. And so we jump off and we take our first flights across all the Minecrafty areas with our Allegra over to the Tower of Flight. If you haven't been checking them out over on Mixer, definitely do so. And show me your builds over on Instagram as well. I'll again be posting all of this so you can see it in better quality. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. This has been an epic draw because we have just hit 2 hours and 47 minutes. I'm not going to add any color because of Inktober. I don't think this one actually needs it, as the other ones did. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. And I will see you tomorrow for some more Inktober and find out what next prompt is, because I can't remember. Otherwise, click links that will appear. Bye for now.